Good Thursday morning. We like to call it Friday Eve here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. The snow, a couple flurries this morning. Very chilly out there, but hopefully will warm you up as you drive into work today. Alongside Ramon Foster, we've got Robert Walsh behind the glass. I'm Kayla Anderson. We've got a good lineup for you today as we prepare next week for the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. We'll get into a new mock draft by Daniel Jeremiah. Does a great job in terms of breaking things down, and he has the Titans not taking a quarterback at number one. Coach Mack joins us in hour 2. And in hour 3, Brian Callahan approval rating. What's your approval rating of Brian Callahan so far? And in hour 4, we'll turn to the college football talk and SEC programs that are best set up this next season to potentially win a national championship. How's everybody doing this morning?
We're good this morning, Kayla. Good morning, man.
Good morning. Make it in safely.
Did make it in safely, man. I got a bone to pick, too. It's probably going to get a little pushback, man. But this morning, I got some safety precautions for you. If the road is ashy and just a little wet, you're good to go, okay? If it's white and ashy, you're good to go. If it is slick or shiny,
you're not.
No, you're not at all. But my bone to pick, man, is to a group of people that I absolutely love, okay? I know they are one of the most important parts of our country, if not more important, but it's truck drivers, okay?
You mean the big truck drivers?
Yeah, 18-wheeler drivers.
Right.
I feel like some of them need to go back to driving stick shifts, okay? Because I know more these days it's like manual shift or just like the automatic shifters or whatever.
Sure.
I see so many of them in these trucks now that are automatics that drive them like they're Toyotas or like drive them like they're like small cars. Like,
really?
One dude hit the corner this morning, Kayla, with his truck, and I was just like, bro, even if it was like sunny outside, that's way too fast to be hitting that curb like that.
Pushing
You're
on the
hitting
gas.
them corners way too hard, girl.
Right?
Too hard, man. Like, bro, and then when he got up on me after he cleared the curb, whatever, he just floored it. And I was just like, See, this is what happens when we get away from like manual shifting vehicles and stuff, man.
They can do whatever they want.
Listen, dude was flying past Trinity Lane and stuff this morning. I was like, if a cop was there, he was definitely getting a ticket.
What kind of truck was it? Did it have like the billboard on the side? Did you know what they were?
I saw the company. I did, but I'm not going to.
You're not going to go that far.
It's just that when you hitting them curves like that, man, slow it down just a little bit.
I don't know how people can do that in those big trucks and feel comfortable.
I mean, after a while, if it's like just like driving my trucks or the van, like after a while, you feel like, okay, like this is an easy ride. But you also have a load behind you, and there's people around you. But
we're not talking about what's in the pants.
I ain't gonna lie.
This is a big load.
This is a huge, like 18-wheeler cargo truck or whatever.
Not in the diapers.
I don't know if he was late for something or he was just that comfortable driving. It was an older gentleman too. He was rolling.
Maybe he felt comfortable to just put the gas on, and he wanted to get to his destination. He said, "Screw this snow."
Yeah,
I'm not letting it stop me.
He hit that corner so fast. Okay, I was just like, bro, you need to slow it down.
I wonder if Mike in Cleveland would have thoughts on that.
I wonder if Mike is in a manual or is he in an automatic these days.
Well, when he calls in, which he does usually every week, and he did yesterday, maybe he'll call in and just tell us.
Yeah, he called in to dog me yesterday, so I'm starting stuff this morning to jab back at him 100%.
I see where you're going with that.
And his people, okay? Bro was gassing it this morning, Kayla. He might have been late for a load, is all I'm saying. But he was rolling like Bert yesterday morning. From what I heard.
By the way, Bert had a night.
No, he didn't. Bert didn't have a night like that, did he? Bert, you had a night?
Bert hollering at a Mexican restaurant, I heard.
More so because I have a new celebrity crush. More so because of that.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what that was.
Well, yeah, we also had that combo.
Oh, I thought that's what you were talking about.
No, I was talking about hollering at the Mexican restaurant.
No, that's what I was doing. I was barking at her.
Oh, you were barking? I never put 2 and 2 together.
There we go.
I did.
Now I feel ashamed to even say who it was.
I never put 2 and 2 together. So you were watching the news at the Mexican restaurant.
She gonna throw me under the bus like that. Kayla gonna throw me under the 18-wheeler we was talking about.
I gave him a hint.
Hitting the corner this morning,
Kayla,
Bert.
No more hints.
Hitting them corners a little too hard there. Let me find that clip, man. Let me find that clip.
Make me mess up this $200 suit.
Oh, my God.
Almost made me spill my yak on this $200 $100.
I will say this, Joe Breezy, I'm coming for you. You better watch out, buddy.
There's the hint. That's
You
all
better
you
not
needed
mess
to know.
up, buddy. You
There's
better not mess up.
Only so many breezies in this city, you know?
Either way, man, shout out to the truckers, though, for seriously. But this morning, bro was getting to it,
Except for this morning because Ramon was very annoyed.
Well, you know me. I'm not a snow driver whatsoever. Yes,
Right.
I have the truck. Yes, I've driven it in Pittsburgh. I trust Pittsburgh road maintenance a whole lot more than I do any
thought
city in
Nashville's
the
done
South.
a good job the
They
last
have.
2 snows,
As of recently, they have. But
Yeah.
all it took was for me one time driving to do a 360 on the bridge. At that point, I was good. And I was in a truck. Everything checked. I checked every single box. There's nothing you can do about it when it's your time to slide. So it was between that.
That sounds like a slogan. There's nothing you can do about it when it's your time to slide.
That sounds like a slogan for the street.
All right, while we calling people out this morning, I'd like to call out Cheyenne. What is
What
it?
is going on with Cheyenne and the beef?
What is so hard about scheduling something to get done? What is so hard about that? I woke her up very gently this morning. Cheyenne is like a bear in emotions. You know, I wouldn't call her a bear in physicalness. I'd call her a bear in emotions where if she's hibernating, it's best to leave that sleeping bear lie. But this morning I felt the need to inform her, hey, baby, it snowed a little bit last night, but don't be worried. There's not a lot of snow on the ground. You'll be okay. Ooh, and that upset her something fierce, man. She was like, oh, I got to go turn my car on. I was like, you just get your Uber. I'll pick you up from work. What is it? She's like, my defroster don't work. I was like, dadgummit, girl. How in the world you go ride around with no defroster? It's cold as hell outside. What are we doing? I'll make it work. No, you ain't gonna make it work. You're gonna make it somebody else's problem. I don't know what you're gonna do. I don't know what she's gonna do. But when I attempted to help, I was instructed to quote, go the hell to work.
Get the hell on.
Get out of the
She wasn't
house.
having it. I wonder why, Bert. Were you being a pain in the booty last night?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that maybe I was a little concerned about us watching Deal or No Deal Island, and she fell asleep at 8:30. So it happens.
Is she
you know what
really?
I mean? She's a working woman, man. She's a working woman.
She is.
8:30.
She's a boss.
I wasn't too far behind her. I was letting Zeus out at 9:15 last night, man. I was like, all right, come on, old man, let's go.
As long as he came back.
He did come back.
I mean, he didn't look old in that photo you put up yesterday where he was frolicking up to the neighbor's door. He looked like he was having a play date. I mean, he doesn't look old to me.
He doesn't. That's the thing about him. He has his moments, man, whenever he's just in his mood and he'll just the biggest thing that he got going, he struggled like to get up just a little bit just because he's older.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked a good bit whenever he was younger and stuff like that, running him around and whatnot. But ever since he's got on his CBD, like little treats, he's been he's been good to go. Okay. But that's what he does, though, man. The neighbors down the street, they weren't tripping. All I worry about now, since I didn't get the invisible fence up, is he going to go down to the neighbor's yard every chance he get?
And the answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes. He's
It's
got little friends
yes.
now.
What do you actually have to do for that? You just got to flip a switch? Because, it's underground, ain't it?
There's a line that transmits to the collar. So, yeah, it's underground. But mine, because I didn't call, my fence people to spray the lines before they aerated the yard, mine got chopped up. So
Okay, that
the
sounds
line
like a
got
waste
broken.
of money a lot of times because I've had people call. I've had people tell me they have those too, and half the time it's down. Half the time it's not working.
Well, it's an easy fix, though. It's like $100 fix. But what happened
I don't have $100.
What happens is if the line gets cut, they have a radar, I guess they can figure out where it's actually cut at and just simply repair it back. But as long as it's up, he'll stay within the lines. It's just that now, between going up the hill to Big Tech's house and going down to Miss Tiffany's house, Zeus is running the neighborhood at this point, okay? So it's weird. I let him go up to Big Tech's house, which is right behind the street. It's an old brown dog, too. I think they're the same age. Tech's got more gray than Zeus do right now, though. So there's two old men that'll sit there, and Zeus don't bark. He just watch you, and if he does ever bark, run. Okay, that's what I would say.
No, that means you're in trouble. Yeah,
you're in trouble.
What kind of dog is it again?
I got a Rottweiler.
Rottweiler. That's right.
Best dog I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, Rottweilers are good. If you don't train them to be mean, then they're not mean.
Yeah, they get a bad rap. You know what is
so do pit
actually a
bulls.
mean dog? Y'all remember chows?
Chows are not nice.
Or Akitas?
Don't
Yeah.
any of them fluffy big dogs?
Fluffy Bigs.
They will come after you.
Mm-hmm.
I saw somebody last night on social media like they had great. Do you know what greyhounds are used for?
Racing.
No,
back
absolutely
in the
not.
day.
You saw them hunting them deer just like I
Did
did.
I send the video to you?
I don't know if you
They
did, but
were
that was
hunting deer?
badass, man.
The greyhounds. I saw one that were a little bit thicker than the ones that are at the racetrack, but these dudes had like this old truck,
I've
and they
never
just
seen that.
lifted the gate, and these jokers jumped out and went and chased the coyote. Oh my gosh!
world?
It was like Bella's got him. Bella's flipped him, and then the whole gang came up around him. Oh,
Like a pack of wolves, a pack of greyhounds.
Greyhounds, man. You saw him hunt a deer?
Oh man,
That's
dude!
wild, dude.
Me
I
and him
can
share
do
so
this
many
all
clips.
day,
I'm
all
sure.
day.
was
I don't wanna be a part of that one.
It's something whenever people actually use dogs for what they're actually bred for. I had no idea greyhounds were used for hunting.
As long as you're not breeding them to fight.
Yeah, man. No, I don't do that.
That's it.
Good.
Michael Vick learned from that one.
Yeah, we learned.
We learned from that one. Well, we've got a good show for you today. And coming up next, we're going to talk about Daniel Jeremiah's new mock draft. I think he does probably one of the best jobs in terms of mocking and getting things correct. And nobody's perfect in the world of mock drafts. But in his latest mock draft, Daniel Jeremiah does not have the Tennessee Titans picking a quarterback. So we'll discuss who he has and maybe how what other teams are doing will affect the Titans. That's coming up next here this morning on RKW on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to RKW on this Thursday morning. Hopefully you're getting into work or going wherever you need to go. Driving safely out there. There is some black ice, so take it easy this morning. We have a new NFL mock draft. It is that time of the year, so I don't feel guilty about doing mock drafts, okay?
You don't
The
at all?
combine's coming up. We're preparing the people. You like to get an idea. I like to have people challenge like my thoughts at this point because I have it set in my mind what I want the Titans to do, but that doesn't mean that you can't change my mind.
Absolutely.
And some of these mock drafts, I think, do open up your mind to maybe going a different direction.
I'll be honest with you. As a former player that used to watch this all the time, and honestly, it was a spring Bible is what it was for the most part, especially when Mel Kiper and Todd McShay was really like they were the kings of ESPN at that time before NFL Network was really a thing. Like seeing where they had guys positioned and how the draft was going to go, and if your name was mentioned and dropped and stuff like that. Like I was super into it in college, and then when you go undrafted, your mind changes a little.
Sure, I bet it does.
And you start looking at the ones that don't make it more than anything. So I see these lists, and I still wonder, and I bring it up all the time, how many of these first rounders that we love and just adore and just absolutely want to see be successful just turn into duds, and that's what's most fascinating to me about like the NFL draft. It's so many guys. I looked up a guy just a second ago, and I played against him in college, Derek Harvey. I'm sure Gator Mike knows him because he's a Florida Gator player. He was Jacksonville moved up to the 8th overall pick to draft him. He ended up doing 3 years in Jacksonville, 1 in Denver, and then practice squad with the Bengals in 2012. Like, this is the number 8th overall pick. So I love my drafts. I love the names being thrown around. And this draft in particular, it may end up shocking a lot of folks because, like, it's not heralded as one of the best ones. Like,
no, it's not.
They got guys like Will Campbell who can go in the top 10, or Jalen Walker that people have questions about but love. Or you have a guy in James Pierce Jr. that could potentially drop, but teams still take him early and have a good career. It's a fascinating approach, and I hadn't even mentioned just the hit and misses on quarterbacks.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, if there's usually misses that we remember in past drafts, they're usually a quarterback because they're the ones that get the most hype. Even, this time of year, we start to see the lies come into play. We start to see the rising of certain quarterbacks because as long as their agents are getting out this stuff, that's what we're then talking about. I mean, we're kind of prisoners of it because that's what we do for a living is do sports talk radio. But it is kind of wild, like how many quarterbacks have been so hyped up in the future and how many have been duds. And that's what makes this year really interesting, Ramon, when it comes to the Titans having the number 1 overall pick, because now you've got 2 quarterbacks that aren't highly regarded.
Yeah.
So do you think, well, maybe it could go the opposite way because they're not getting all the pub. They are, but they're not getting the pub that they're the best when it comes to even just grades. Because I think a lot of the grades on these quarterbacks are below 10 in terms of where you're going to rank them.
I know and that's where, again, like, it's so much stock thrown into it, and specifically for the Titans here too. The number 1 overall pick is a heavy stress to carry. No, you shouldn't get it all the time unless you've been Cleveland, right, Bert? But with that being said, though, like you mentioned the quarterbacks and what that means. To hit on that one. Like, you hit on it, you get Joe Burrow, even though they were right at 500 this year, too. You hit on it, you get Jaden Daniels. Like, it can really, like, change your entire franchise. But, like, this year in particular, the quarterbacks have a lot of questions. Like, and I know we all like all of them and want to see them be successful. And for the Titans' sake, you want them to just finally get it right if they do stick and pick a quarterback. But what determines success of a quarterback? Man, more than likely, like a player. I had a good buddy of mine that was a former first rounder and just ran into a bad locker room. Like, the vets wouldn't help him out. He'd be in a position where like veterans would actually give him the wrong play to make him not be. Because
where the hell was this?
So, like, I've heard these types of things happen where people, myself included now, will label somebody a bust. Like, let's say if it's a Traylon Burks situation. Traylon wants to be good. I think we've seen Traylon be good or at least more serviceable in college. Like, Traylon probably is a 2, Devontae Smith, or 3, right? But his talent said that he's supposed to be good. Who's to say that, like, either the vets or, like, the quarterbacks or the coaches didn't set him up for success? Like, and I know a lot of people say, well, it's on the player, but you never really know what the locker room is like, how toxic it can be, and just, like, what guys go through in that first year. Or it can be in a position, too, where another one of my homeboys just had a bad head coach. Like, did not know how to manage players, did not know how to manage time, expectation, his staff. And it made him, I ain't gonna say it made him a bad player because you get on the field, production is a part of it. But if you got chaos on Monday through Saturday and you expect it to be good on Sundays, like, there's a lot that goes into winning and losing, and then also the curation of your first rounders. So it is a tricky situation, which is why I love going through it now, because we're going to go through this top 10 that Daniel Jeremiah had, and we're going to look back in about 3 years. There's going to be a few of these dudes on different teams.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a few of these dudes that are just primarily backups. You know what I'm saying? And you're expected to be a guy when you're a top 10 pick. I had somebody explain it to me, like, when you're picking in the top 10, that guy gets, for the most part, that guy gets off the bus ready to go.
I mean, that's kind of what you're doing. I mean, if you're drafting, especially number 1 overall, you're expecting, in a way, that person, that guy, that player to be ready to put the helmet on and be not even just play, but be a starter.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where you have to be realistic about this number 1 overall pick. Y'all know I'm on the Cam Ward bus. I'm never getting off of it. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong when it's all said and done, right? If he doesn't succeed in the NFL. I have no problem with that. But when it comes to the Titans, I do realistically look at this. So
I was going to say real quick before you go further, what is success for these guys? Is it Geno Smith? Because technically Geno Smith has been successful, right?
Yeah, but back to your point of they're not always set up for success. That's because they're going to crappy teams. 100%. So you can talk about Geno Smith not having success right away because he was drafted by the New York Jets, or also
Jadeveon Clowney too.
I mean, Sam Darnold. He was also drafted by the New York Jets. That's a crap organization. And obviously they didn't set up to succeed right away, and it took him a while to probably gain his confidence back, but to be on a team finally in the Vikings that had their you-know-what together. Yeah. So, Ramon, that's part of it too. And I could probably honestly say, I don't know if the Titans are set up right now to draft a quarterback to have success. Even as talented as Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders might be, it might not even be the best place for them to go at this current time to succeed right away. And that's hard for anybody to do. And
it does. So it really does come down to balance. So what we don't know yet is what this front office is going to do in free agency. We get a little bit more answers at that point.
After maybe the combine and they talk to Cam Ward or some of these other guys.
The first week of free agency for me at this point. We'll hear Cam Ward and Shedeur Camps, I'm sure, say stuff about how they met with the Titans and whatnot. I would expect both of them to. I expect Abdul Carter to.
Absolutely.
I mean, a few of these guys, Travis Hunter, the Titans can just say, hey, come over here, sweet thing, and they're coming into that room.
Oh, yeah. They got the number 1 overall pick, baby.
They got the number 1 overall pick.
But you spoke about being safe, and I don't like that word. But that's just me. I'm like one of those, when I hear safe, it's like a weird word to me. I don't really like being safe all the time about things, because I think when you take risks, sometimes it is a big reward. And that's life in general, right?
It is.
But in this case, Ramon, with Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft.
Reverse words right there.
I didn't even know that I did that. My goodness. Lack of sleep. It's catching up to me.
Daniel Jeremiah.
Look at I didn't even know I did
Rick
that.
Brown would be proud of you.
He would be proud of me. He has, Daniel Jeremiah, that is, the Tennessee Titans picking Abdul Carter at number 1. So this is no surprise. We've seen it in a lot of mock drafts. I think he's actually been gung-ho on Abdul Carter at this number 1 spot. But to me, Ramon, this is like the safest pick.
It is. But you also, to his point, I guess, where the Titans are, in my personal opinion, Kayla, they just need some players that strike fear in the folks. Like, that's number 1. And Abdul Carter satisfies that. More, respectfully, more than I think a quarterback would at this point. To your point, we were just talking about a second ago. You want to see these two quarterbacks be successful, but it's somewhat got to be a team that has either head coach stability or more ex-players on the team to actually help them out. There is no wide. Well, let me check that. Calvin Ridley at this point. It's all he has to
because you don't even know if NWI's back.
And 2 running backs. And then you got to figure out how much does a tight end and Chig and Josh Wiley scare you, right? Calvin scares you. So who is he going to throw to unless they're going to overspend in free agency again? What Daniel Jeremiah says in this, too, after he says the Titans will pick Abdul Carter, number 1. He says the Titans have their share of holes to fill and decide to take the best player available in this year's class. They choose to find their quarterback of the future in next year's draft. So are you bad again next year?
All signs point to yes.
Probably, yeah.
And that's, I think, what we've tried to this year in offseason be realistic about, because we all admit, Ramon, myself, and Will, that we got hyped up about what they did last year and thought maybe it could be a quicker turnaround than it was because of the free agency signings, because we thought maybe Will Levis could take that step. It's okay to believe sometimes. And, the Titans put it out there that they were going to be competitive. Now I think that they've gone back on that a little and are understanding also you've got to market a team, but you have to be realistic.
100%.
And I think they're being a little bit more realistic about how this is more of a building process. It's going to take fans to be a little bit patient. So that's a good point, Ramon. I would say likeliness of them being in the top 10 next year, right now at least, is probably high.
Probably high.
And there's no guarantees that your quarterback's there next year. But, you got to do what you got to do. What's interesting about this, Moan, when I'm looking at this mock draft by Daniel Jeremiah, is I have not seen much of this, but they actually have Cam Ward going to the Cleveland Browns at 2.
Yeah. I see Cleveland taking a quarterback more than I do a defensive player, simply because they'll get whoever. If they take one of these 2 quarterbacks, they can just sit them for a little while. I think Deshaun Watson has the Achilles injury going on. I think he's had a few setbacks with his recovery with a lot of things anyway. Mm-hmm. But as quick as Cleveland can get away from Deshaun Watson and set their team up for hope, Kayla, the better it's going to be for them.
That's a big word, huh?
It really is, man. And here's the thing, though, too. They do have weapons on Cleveland's team. They absolutely do. I think Tristan Wirfs, one of their offensive tackles is up for free agency this year, too. But if you look at, Jedrick Wills is who it is.
Absolutely.
If you look at the way their team is set up, it has come down to quarterback play. One thing that we've
100%.
said and one way to get Myles Garrett on board, potentially, is to draft a quarterback that has the potential to help him win. Their biggest issue has been they ain't got nobody to throw the football to. They've went through Jameis. Who's the other guy? TRT, whoever it was.
The UCLA, DMR, yeah.
They've had no steady play at that position, even with Deshaun. So if they can find a resetting quarterback, whether it be Cam or whether it be Shador, I think they can really make a run. That's one thing about Cleveland. They got so much talent. It's just a matter of the front
money,
office.
Right?
They do, and they're not afraid to.
Is ran by a pretty, I would say, legit guy that we all are familiar with here in Tennessee in his time here. But they just couldn't. It's almost like when you have a quarterback issue, or even you have a quarterback that has issues, if you know what I mean, Aaron Rodgers, it's almost like that drama and all of that does affect the team at some point. Because with all the Deshaun Watson stuff that has gone on up in Cleveland and his lack of play because he's been injured, it's almost like there's so much pressure on the team and that they have to make up for all of it. Do you get what I'm saying in that? Because they have, like you said, the parts there. It's just that they haven't been able to put it together. So any surprises here? You've got the New York Giants taking Travis Hunter. A little surprised because you would think maybe they need a quarterback as well.
Yeah.
But if it's best available player at that point, it is hard to argue that Travis Hunter isn't that.
Yeah, 100%. I do think they need quarterbacks, a quarterback also, and I see them actually taking a quarterback more than Travis. I just also, too, the way this is set up so far, I can't see Travis dropping that far either. That's the other thing, too, is just, if he goes further than 3, then something's wrong or somebody's been overdrafted at that point. But, again, I've said as of late, you love who you love in this draft, and you take who you want to if they fit your scheme.
See, what's interesting to me is the offensive tackles last year, we were raving about how many there were and what direction the Titans could go. We all landed on Joe Alt, but I think a lot of us knew there were other options that they could go with. And clearly they landed on J.C. Latham and weren't afraid that he needed to be converted to the left tackle spot. When you look at the tackles in this first round, it's looking like Will Campbell will be the first off the board, Ramon. But I'd even say with him, like, I'm not fully confident that could be the guy that starts and succeeds right away.
He's a little bit of a mauler from what I've seen on his tape. Vrabel's going to like him. He's steady in the pass pro also, and he's just got a lot of flair and grit to him too. To me, he fits what Vrabel will want in an offensive lineman. They also need help too. He can play, if I'm not mistaken, left or right. And when you look at what New England tried to do last year too, with Chukwu for, that didn't work out for them in New England, and they have a void there. I don't think they're going back to Trent Brown anytime soon. So to me, Vrabel's going to get his offensive line and defensive line together as quick as he possibly can too, because you got to think he actually has a quarterback that he likes there.
Yeah, he's going to be good.
Drake May.
I like Drake May, and we saw that he is mobile. I know if you watched him in college, you knew that, but I think a lot of people that didn't watch him in college and saw him this year, they're like, oh man, that guy's also athletic and he's got an arm. Okay. Like, they've got something to build on there. So you're right. Now, Vrabel's got to be able to progress when it comes to that offense too, because that's something that he kind of went backwards here in terms of, being able to progress and score points. But we'll see how that happens there. So Shedeur Sanders goes to the Las Vegas Raiders at number 6. No surprise that if they do go for a quarterback, they've got to get a quarterback at some point. They don't really have a starter there. But there are also 3 edges that you see going in the top 10 in this one. So you've got the Marshall edge, Mike Green going number 9.
I'm shocked.
That's the one that you were surprised about.
Because he's catapulted up because of the Senior Bowl, which is awesome for our good friend Jim Nagy.
Yeah.
He put it on display big time down there when he forklifted an offensive lineman up off his feet. I'm just shocked that, he went from, in my understanding, a second round, maybe late first rounder, to Daniel Jeremiah have him in the top 10. That to me is somewhat fascinating. So did you feel like you saw enough out of him? I'm a defensive line hater, though. I'm a defensive lineman
so you're
hater.
Critical.
So I'm overly critical because here's the thing. He ended up lifting the offensive lineman off his feet. Awesome. It was beautiful. That's what I guess they write up in his strengths, right? Okay, he's quick. He can quick bull rush, get around the edge. He got speed to power. He's got bull rush in him. He can beat you around the corner, too. I just look at it. He only won 25% of his reps, which for a defensive lineman is probably good. He lifted offensive lineman off his feet. The next 3 plays, he got locked up, okay, like Akon sing. All right? He got locked up after that. So am I buying into that, or are you supposed to at least go 50-50 on those types of plays? That's where I was. But he has the tools, the intangibles, Kayla, that you're looking for. He's got speed. He was over 250 pounds. He's got the power for it and everything else. So if you're looking for the traits, he does have them. I just didn't see a second rounder catapulting all the way up into a top 10 pick.
Well, the one thing about this mock draft by Daniel Jeremiah, the latest, and look, none of this is set in stone. These are just people guessing. But Daniel Jeremiah, like I said, is good at this in terms of what he puts out there and the research he does. At this point, it doesn't look like the Titans would be able to trade back. And I think that's the biggest thing you take from something like this is they still want to get picks. And the biggest part of that, though, is you still, even if you don't want a quarterback, you have to sell that you do. And it's really hard sometimes to do that because I think if they sold that they were going to take a quarterback and one of these teams says, we got to go up there and get it. Now even maybe possibly Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
You could probably still get Abdul Carter at 3.
I think you could. I don't think you'll be able to go past 3 for Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. If you want one, I think this should go in the top 3. It's just a matter of if the Giants take a quarterback and Cam or Shedeur. If the Titans take number 1 quarterback, Giants take number 3. I see, at that point, Cleveland getting either Abdul or Travis. I see Travis falling further, although I think Travis may be the best one in his spot. Although I saw somebody in our chat said that on 3HL yesterday he was evaluated. I'm not sure if Cosell was on yesterday, but I guess the comment was said that Abdul Carter would be more like a Jadeveon Clowney. of the NFL, which I will say again.
Interesting.
3 Pro Bowls.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
on that defense, he was a record for that Houston Texans
when he was
defense.
healthy and
Yes.
at his best, he was good. It just, I think people wanted a little more out of him, like for longer.
You want it generational.
Yeah.
Yes, you want a generational. He just didn't have. I mean, it's not his fault that Clip took him to the moon. I mean, legitimate. And even last year, too, I'm looking up his stat line in 2024. He cleared 5.5 sacks still.
Yeah.
And 2023
He did it
had
kinda
9.5.
quietly, right?
He's yet to get over double-digit sacks, though.
That's wild to me. Well, coming up next here on RKW, we will flip to the college side for a minute. Look, the college football playoff, this is wild right now. We don't know what exactly going to happen, but it's going to be, in terms of expansion, it's going to happen. It's at least going to go to 14 next. Everybody wants a say in it right now. We'll tell you about the SEC and Big Ten commissioners and what they're favoring in terms of the seeding. Maybe that makes things a little bit more easy to understand. That's coming up next year on RKW 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back into RKW, wrapping up hour one here on the show on this chilly Thursday morning. Stay bundled up out there. Before we get to the latest story in college football, which involves the playoffs, let's go out to Marcus in Nashville. He has a question concerning the NFL draft. Good morning, Marcus.
Morning, Marcus.
It's been a while since we talked. Y'all know I've been disappointed since the season. And
See, Marcus, I ain't even hit my boomerang, Marcus, because I wasn't even sure if it was you.
It's me, dog. It's only me. It's me. It is me. But the thing is, I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I've been listening to y'all for the last few weeks, and I know y'all been stuff like that, and y'all keep bouncing around talent. I'm the type of person, I believe it when I see it. You know, I see talent. We got to choose either one or the other. We either got to choose the Sanders, or we got to choose his brother. You might as well say it. It's either one or the other.
Okay.
We can't let neither one of these talent go past us, man.
Yeah.
Because we done dealt with trying to build up, trying to pray for somebody that got that. You know, we done seen the dude finally learn how to fly. We're praying, we're clapping about that. We are better than that in the Titan world, man. We need talent that shows talent, and that's it.
No doubt. So is your talent Abdul Carter? Is your talent the quarterbacks? Is your talent Travis Hunter? Because when you speak about talent,
I want to say Travis Hunter, but then I'm still stuck with Levis. You know.
But there's also free agency.
But the thing is, we ain't gonna get nobody. I don't know, man. It's just like this. I look at it like Sanders, like the whole season when he played with Colorado. I know it was college, but he might have got sacked more than anybody. But one thing he did do was still get yards.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh.
So that's how I look at it. I'm looking at our line. One thing we do is let our quarterback get sacked all the time.
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Marcus. We appreciate it. And it's always good to get people's thoughts out there because I am interested. You see one side on social media. I think even the F&M Bank chat, by the way, if you want to get involved
it's good
in that.
Right now.
We're streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. You can get involved in the conversation, but everybody has their opinions on like who they want. Yeah. It is interesting to get differing opinions because it's different from social media to what we hear in the chat, what we hear from callers.
So one of Andre in the chat right now has made a very valid point that Marcus, I feel like, was making too just a second ago.
Okay.
And it's this, like Marcus brought up, he wants talent, right? Talent is only one player at this spot. Like, you're going to pick premium. So what does that mean, Kayla? We spoke about with the quarterbacks. Like, if you get one, how much do you believe in the success here right now? Like, you know the personalities, but, like, how much do you see this team being able to facilitate these young guys being good? Whether you pick any of them, whether it be Jackson Dart, Cam, Shador, it don't matter. Shuck, it don't, like, how much success do you think they're going to have? Or you just say, get them and let them get beat up and we'll be better in 2026. But Andre brings up this point.
About the quarterback?
About talent in general is where we're at this point. But this team is like, it's anemic with talent, right? Like they got low blood count with it. The depth isn't there with talent. Andre says this. I want to be excited about this team again. I want to go out and buy a jersey again, buy tickets, and travel to the game. I like both of these quarterbacks and see them be in the future. Like, that's what's missing. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of this fan base, I had a good friend of mine recently who let go of their season tickets. And he was just like, I can't go to the games and know it's going to be this bad for years to come. It's like, so he was like, I'm running a risk of getting into the new stadium, maybe not being able to get PSLs anymore, but I can't pour in money. Like, Andre and my homeboy have the same friggin' mindset. It's like, it ain't fun right now.
Yeah. So then do you think the answer then is to do the risk and hopefully get the reward in one of these quarterbacks? Because when it's all said and done, the quarterback is who is going to get the most attention.
Yes.
That's the thing about Abdul Carter, that when you hear these types of comments, I'm sorry. I think Abdul Carter will be a good player in the NFL for a long time from what we've seen and heard. But he's not going to garner that much excitement compared to one of these quarterbacks. Or I will also put Travis Hunter in there.
And see, the last defensive end that had that type of excitement, that delivered on it too, and I got to give him praise for this too, is Will Anderson in Houston. But here's the thing too. Will Anderson also had the number 1 quarterback to come with him also, or the number 2 quarterback at the time to go with him also.
C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud. So C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, like Houston, I ain't going to lie to you, they sucked for a while, but gosh, they hit it right. They
hit it out of the park because they got picks because they did a trade that now benefits them in every which way.
Yeah.
And that's what the Titans are also trying to do is get a whole bunch of picks so that they can figure out how to get their most bang for their buck.
It is. And so you don't have Deshaun Watson to trade away to get more first-round picks from another team. But, like, if you ever had a dream scenario, it is exactly what Houston did. If we're talking about, like, a quick switch, I see somebody bring up, like, Detroit. But Detroit did this over time. Detroit also had another valuable asset in Matthew Stafford. They got them picks also. And they had to change their whole personality. So, like, the conversation of, like, who you pick on this one, I'm be honest with you, I don't even want to call Abdul Carter safe, but, like, he's the best pick, I think, as far as, like, the certainty of him being able to make plays for you. It's just so hard. The quarterback position is just tricky.
No, especially
Are you willing,
this year.
Kayla, to if you were Brian Callahan, you want him because it can extend your job longer, but are you willing to risk your job if they don't come? I mean,
I think you're going to risk your job no matter what. If you want my honest opinion, I think you're going to risk your job no matter what next year. He's been put in a position where
quick results have to happen.
It doesn't matter if you have a number 1 overall pick and you're trying to make it happen or you're bringing in a bridge quarterback. If you do not win games, you are not going to be here likely.
So you put that in the hands of a rookie?
That's a great question. It'll sell tickets. I'll tell you that much.
It will. It will sell tickets.
Interesting conversation. And maybe that ties into what we're going to get in here at the top of the hour because the salary cap in the NFL has now gone up and a significant amount, I would say. How will that affect the Titans and maybe some of their moves in free agency? We'll get to that and much more. We've got Coach Mack coming up at 7:20. That is all coming up here in hour 2 on RKW 104.5 The Zone.
What's going on? 7:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The NFL informed teams yesterday that the 2025 salary cap will fall in the range of $277 million to $281 million, way up from last year's $255 million. Cap will have increased more than $53 million over the last 2 years. So based on, we'll take the median of $279 million for a salary cap in 2025. The Titans should effectively have around $42 million to spend in free agency. Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, on the other hand, are projected to have a league-high $126 million in salary cap space, over $25 million more than any other NFL team. To Cincinnati, where they've got some big fish to fry this offseason with T. Higgins, Jermaine Pratt, Trey Hendrickson, all wanting new contracts or requesting trades. Well, their job just got a lot harder with Jordan Schultz's report that Jamar Chase would not accept a contract less than $40 million a year. Currently, Justin Jefferson has the highest annual total with $35 million a year. And the Eagles are elevating passing game coordinator and associate head coach Kevin Pachulo to offensive coordinator. Pachulo joined Philly in 2021 as the passing game coordinator. He added the associate head coach title in 2023. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome into hour 2 of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We've got Ramon Foster in the house.
Hey.
Driving into work today, said it was a breeze except for some trucker who was driving way too fast.
Flying this morning.
So if you're on the roads,
be safe.
be safe. Keep it cool because there is some black ice out there still remaining from the cold weather that we're getting, and it's melting. Now it's cold again. Behind the glass, we have our good friend Robert Walsh. Bert is what we like to call him, and I'm Kayla Anderson. Running the ship today. Will Bowling out for the day. We'll all be back here tomorrow together, but we move forward in terms of the salary cap. And when I say move forward, I literally mean, well, we're moving forward because there's more money. There's always going to be more money involved when it comes to the NFL. And per Dan Graziano of ESPN, this came out yesterday. I'm sure some of you guys saw it. But the NFL informed teams yesterday that the 2025 per-team salary cap will fall in the range of about $277.5 million to $281.5 million. So that's not set in stone yet, guys, but that is kind of an estimate of what we're expected it to be. And that is way up, Ramon, from last year's $255.4 million. The cap will have increased by more than $53 million over the past just 2 years. Yeah. It is mind-blowing, the money that we're talking.
It is, Kayla. Insane, man. I'm calculating right now.
Are you on your phone calculator there?
Yeah. Like, it's since the time that I've come into the league, and it's over for a while ago, since 2009.
How long have you been retired?
This will be 5 years. This is my fifth year.
5 years,
retirement.
okay.
Yep, this will be my 5th year of retirement right here. So in the last 16 years, when I came into the NFL, I thought it was amazing, okay? The cap at the time, the cap maximum at the time was $123 million. It's gone up $152 million since in 16 years. Like, that is growth right there, okay? 275 is where it's at right now. Now, bring it up to say this, too. There will be a lot of guys that get paid that you'll be like, what in the heck? How did they? It's because the money is so much more. So you might see a backup guard or a backup safety get more money than you think they should, and it's just because the actual floor has been raised up too. So, fans, I would caution you to condition yourself to be like, we overpay for this. No, you did not overpay for them. The NFL has grown. The money has been uplifted. I'm talking about hand over fist because of gambling, because of streaming. Right now, I think it was a report that Netflix now wants Sunday Night Football.
Yep,
they're trying to bid for it. They want Sunday Night Football. You know what that does? That's more money. If anything, it was an NBC that does Sunday Night Football.
Yes.
That makes them raise their price too. So even if Netflix doesn't get it, NBC has to be in a position to where they also have to pay more to keep it. So don't trust me. Don't twist your mind on the idea that, hey, now a backup quarterback and Andy Dalton is getting $4 million a year just to sit behind Bryce Young. Like, these types of things are going to happen. You might pay a premium this year for a backup quarterback, or let's say, for instance, a polarizing guy here that people want to move beyond. If Dylan Radins comes and signed back here for the Tennessee Titans for an average about $7 million a year, that's about right for what the cap is suggesting at this point right now.
What do you think about Nick Westbrook-Ikhine? By the way, Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports put out a recent projection for each team's projected cap space next year. He has the Titans at 44, just a little bit over, well, just about at $44 million. And obviously there's a list of unrestricted agents. You mentioned Dylan Radins being one of those. And then Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, what do you think they have to pay him for him to return?
I can see Nick getting about $6 a year, just to be completely honest with you. If he comes back here,
deal?
2 or 3 year deal.
Yeah, because he said he wants more than a 1 year deal.
He's proven himself enough, but it also depends upon what the market suggests. I can see him getting a long-term deal from $4 to $6 million or doing a 1 year for $5. Like, sometimes you give what the market is offering you.
Sure.
And if it ain't offering you a whole lot, you'll take that 1 for $5 and try to go get it again. I see him making that minimum, though, $5 a year.
And what about,
in my opinion,
in terms of this increase, Moan, and look, you have to spend a certain amount of money that you have too. Does that make you feel better about free agency in terms of going out and maybe getting some of these positions you have to fill no matter what and paying a little bit more? And I'll even put our guy up in Kansas City, Trey Smith, in that mix.
I would too, but here's the thing about it. Like, I've conditioned myself to what they've said earlier this spring and making them do what Blaine do. I'm going to watch what they do, okay? More than anything, they said they're not going to overspend in free agency. So as much money as they have, I do think they're planning to be smarter and build this thing in a slow, methodical way more than anything. So they're trying to be smart, figure out what a Titan is. And we heard Borgonzi somewhat say that too. You don't want to have a locker room full of free agents. Then you have no culture at that point too. So we'll see. I feel confident about it, Kayla, but I'm uncertain on what they're actually going to do.
Let's go out to the phone lines, pick up a couple calls here. We'll start with Greg in Coopertown. He has a thought on Shedeur Sanders. Greg.
Hey, how y'all doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. Shedeur Sanders, that's all I can say. I mean, I'm telling you, look, I watched this guy. His dad, look at his dad's name. That right there is enough to make you think, oh, my God. This kid is, I've seen him play, I've seen him throw, I've seen him run. He can read defenses. He's got everything you need in a quarterback. He's a thinker. And he's got all that behind him and everything. He can run. Like I said, he can do whatever he needs to do. He's just a good quarterback to me.
No doubt about it.
Well, thanks, Greg. Yeah.
Appreciate that, Greg.
Look, I feel like we've got 2 for Shedeur Sanders this morning, early to start things off. But yeah, I mean, he's a smart quarterback, right? He's definitely got the pedigree.
Yeah, he does.
And he's got the star factor, too, which would definitely sell tickets.
Yeah, he was. Either one. You get a quarterback, the tickets are sold at that point. Like, you know what I'm saying? So either one you pick, the tickets are sold if you bring them in. That was fascinating when it comes down to his approach to Shedeur. I'll be honest with you. Good.
Big fan of him.
Greg. I appreciate it.
Big fan of him. Alvin in Nashville, he's got a Titans draft opinion. Alvin, what do you got for us this morning?
Yeah, I was thinking like, good morning, first of all, how y'all doing?
Good morning.
Hey, I was thinking more so on the lines of like kind of like trading back, because if you look at like the Philadelphia Eagles, how they won the Super Bowl, how they had more of a, you know, it wasn't like a star. It was stars that like A.J. Brown, you got Saquon Barkley, but you know they had role players. So I was thinking more so just keep trading back as much as you can, get more draft capital, get more picks throughout the draft. I actually like that safety out of South Carolina.
South Carolina safety.
Nick, I can't think his name.
Scored? No.
It starts with an E.
I'll have to look it
EMM.
up for you.
But I like him because he's more like a Sean Taylor, and coming from the Baltimore Ravens defense, that safety that came out of Notre Dame. We probably can use him more like that. I'm just gonna hang up and just listen. Get your thoughts on it.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Alvin. In terms of draft or trading back, I think the thing about that is you have to be careful of how far you do draft back in or go back in this draft, because there is so much more quality at the top of the first round than there is in the middle and the end, in terms of just the difference of the talent. So you don't want to be going anywhere back like further than 12, I think. I mean, I'd only go back to 6 or 7, and that's if I got a haul for the Titans,
no
what
doubt.
the Titans were getting. And that's the other thing. We keep preaching this. You have to have a draft partner. And I spoke about it earlier in the show, or a trade partner. It's really going to be tough for them to try to convince, if they don't want a quarterback, they have to sell the heck out of it that they do want a quarterback. And that's easier said than done in the NFL. So that's what's hard too. You got to have a trade partner, and the Titans want a lot in terms of picks. So they're not going to do it for just nothing.
No, absolutely not. It's Nick Eamon-Wari.
Eamon-Wari, yeah.
Eamon-Wari also. But yeah, Kayla, the business is going to handle itself hopefully next week and how they go about this. And again, you should get a good gauge, because there will be reports coming out. We'll see if we can get in touch with our good friend Jeremy Fowler to see what he's heard.
He's been on it a lot. I've seen him every day putting out something.
Exactly. So we'll see if we can get something from him as it pertains to what's being said and projected after this upcoming week at the Combine, and also just the players too. Who's going to look good, and how soon after this Combine will these quarterbacks, if they don't throw at the Combine, have the pro days too? As quick as we can get this behind us, the better it will be for free agency too. So I'm not sure when Colorado's pro day is or Miami's, but it will be fascinating to see if they throw at the Combine.
Yeah.
And just the business. A lot of rumblings, a lot of truth will come out next weekend at the Combine.
I think we'll start to hear things change a little bit in terms of the narrative for sure. Somebody who will also be in Indianapolis for the Combine next week with you, Ramon, is our favorite coach, Coach Mack. He is going to join us next here on RKW on 104.5 The Zone.
Is your concrete in need of repair? Maybe your sidewalk is shifting, your driveway is cracked and sinking, or your porch steps, maybe they've moved on you. Shifting concrete can create a dangerous hazard around your house, all right? It's also just a big eyesore. Shimon Falston, whatever is going on with your concrete, call United Structural Systems. Ask them about the polyurethane foam injections. You've heard about USS for a long time. It's the same company that's provided superior foundation repair and waterproofing to Middle Tennessee since 1994. Well, guess what? They can also fix your sunken or settling concrete. USS uses polyurethane foam injections to lift and repair your sunken concrete in a matter of minutes. Lifted concrete, it can be walked on immediately or even driven on after 30 minutes. So don't go through that long, expensive process of ripping out and replacing concrete. Reach out to the people that I trust. You can go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call them at 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
Yep. Welcome back into RKW here on 104.5 The Zone. When you hear that great music, you know it is our favorite coach, Coach Mack, joining us. Brought to you by Two Rivers Ford. Coach Mack, how's it going this morning? You staying warm out there?
Yeah, Kayla, Ramon, good morning.
Hey, Coach Mack.
Just got back from a little tour of Phoenix and Dallas and Newport Beach, and it's a little bit cooler here.
Nice. What were you doing, Coach?
Coach Mack stuff.
Okay, that's all you got to say, and then we can take our imaginations wherever we want.
I knew that.
Sounds like fun, Coach.
Why would you come back from Phoenix, Coach Mack? I love
I know,
Arizona,
me too.
man, and the weather's perfect this time of the year out west.
Well, I had several events I was invited to go to, but I needed to get back here because getting all geared up for the combine. I'm going to be involved in that accelerator program too that they're having a lot of guys at the combine. So anyway, it's going to be a busy week for us, Ramon.
Yeah, it is, Coach Mack. Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to watching you just walk down a random Indianapolis street, Coach Mack, and all I hear is Coach Mack, because that's all that happens.
You know what? First of all, that's Ashley and Amy overblowing that a little bit because they hate it because they don't like when it's cold outside. I get stopped all the time on the street. You know this, Ramon, when we're walking to dinner or we're walking someplace that we need to get to. But it's great being able to see everybody. But there's a lot of information that you can pick up there too, which is important this time of year.
Absolutely.
Coach Mack joining us this morning as they're headed up to the Indianapolis area for the Combine next week. You got the whole crew with you. Coach Mack, you talked about that accelerator program just a second ago. What exactly is that you're going to be involved in?
Well, I mean, just like I did this year when the spring league meetings were here, we had 33 players, they're possible head coach candidates that we spent 4 days, interviewing from 7 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, and then turn the names in to the league and just giving guys that are on a track, whether they be coordinators or whether they be young coaches that are rising and give them a chance to. We had 3 former head coaches, 3 former general managers, and then we basically just put them through, helped them as far as to what to look for in interviews if they start interviewing for these jobs that are going to come up in their future. So, it's just to help them along. I mean, it's a good program, and I enjoy meeting all of these young and upcoming coaches, and then be able to follow their careers, give them my phone number, and hear from them during the year because. Look, I interviewed for 3 of these things when I was coming up in my career. People gave me a lot of help, and I just want to give back.
That's awesome. Good stuff there, Coach Mack. When it comes to the Combine this next week, we'll start with the quarterbacks. Is it important for guys like Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders to throw, or is that just something they don't really necessarily have to do?
Well, they're the top 2 quarterbacks. Let's just get that out there right now. So whether they throw at the combine or not, you'd like to see them throw, but I mean, whether they throw or not, that's not going to affect. They're the first 2 quarterbacks going to be taken in this draft, and the big thing that's going to be important for them is the extensive sit-down interviews. That's going to be, that's very important. The quarterbacks that I've been involved in drafting, the 31 years that I was making draft picks, you don't want to pick a quarterback without really getting to know and vetting the person, because you can watch what's going on physically on the film, and then you're going to have their days that they're going to throw at their school. I mean, you could do all of that, but you've got to know the quarterbacks. You've got to vet those guys personally as you sit down. This is a big time for their evaluation coming up, not only for these sit-down meetings that they're going to have in Indy, but then also the 30 visits they're going to make, but also their school visits that people will come down there and see them. And, both of these quarterbacks are going to have their private throwing sessions for a lot of the clubs once the combine is over with. So whether they throw or not at the combine really won't affect their draft status very much.
Coach Mack, when you talk about the Titans in the position that they're in right now to pick number 1 overall, they got, everybody at their disposal right now. One guy in particular, I don't know if I've asked you about him, but I have to right now, is what have you seen from Abdul Carter, Coach Mack? I've seen some say that they don't know if he can rush off the edge consistently because he was an off-ball linebacker. How do you see him and your eval of Abdul Carter?
To me, he's the best. He's the best pure edge rusher there is right now, Ramon. And he did. He came from being a stack backer down to the line of scrimmage. So he's just beginning to realize what he's got. But what he does have, he's got that lower body flexibility. He's got that Gumby lean on the edge. He's got that motorcycle bend that he could get to. Plus, he's got length and he's got a great initial get off. So he is just starting to reap what he's going to reap, and I think in the National Football League he'll be even a better player. He is, in my humble opinion, after putting together this first vertical and horizontal board. First of all, the edge rushers guys is the deepest as far as the first pod of players. Abdul Carter being the top of it, but then Jalen Walker from Georgia is a guy that's kind of in the same boat. You know, that kind of was a hybrid player there at Georgia, but also Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M, Mike Green, who we sat down with at the Senior Bowl and visited with, Michael Williams, James Pierce Jr. at Tennessee, and Donovan Azaruku from Boston College. All of those guys will be taken in the first round. That's a lot of players to go in those first 32 picks. But then the second pod, the second round of players, has got 5 players that are right at the top 2. You're going to be able to get an edge rusher out of this draft.
No doubt. Speaking of that, to our, I know he's your good friend, Coach Mack, Daniel Jeremiah, man, released his mock draft. And Coach Mack, everybody got one. Okay, so I don't want to make it seem like it's law. But Mike Green, he has him as a top 10 pick to New Orleans, Coach Mack. Have you seen guys do what they do at the Senior Bowl and catapult up like that? Because I think the questions around Mike Green out of Marshall was, does he have the weight? And he checked in over 250 at the Senior Bowl, and then he had a viral moment too. Does that make you believe more in those types of players, Coach Mack? Or do you say to yourself, well, I can work with it more than anything instead of being scared to take him since he's catapulted up?
Yeah, Ramon, I mean, you and I were sitting together for that whole week down there at the Senior Bowl, and look, that is just a small clip of what those guys can do down there. You know as well as I do that all of those one-on-ones down there, it's fun to watch, but a lot of it can be overblown just because they are viral moments down there. But when you really start watching him and dig into him, when you're looking at him, you can see the capabilities that he's going to have, and especially in the NFL game, the way it is now, the premium that is put on being able to get pressure on the quarterback. We've just seen it it won the Super Bowl for the Eagles, being able to pressure with 4, not just pressure with 4, but affect a quarterback in under 2.5 seconds and be able to cover with 7. This is a guy that will be able to help do that. So there's a premium on those guys right now. And, yes, I mean, he's a first-round player. He will be picked in the first round. How good he is depends on where he goes, and it also depends on his further development once he gets into this league. But he's going to be a first-round pick, Ramon.
Coach Mack joining us this morning. We're talking NFL Combine coming up next week in Indianapolis. Coach, when it comes to some of these on-the-field drills and, you know, even the measurements I'll put into here, because we know how important the interviews are, what position can maybe benefit the most from those type of things?
Well, they all can. I mean, it's, you know, I worked on the floor. I worked the linebackers for about 7-8 years in my career. It's really important. These drills and the drills, they talk about them every year because the scouts and the coaches because this is a lot of the coaches' first exposure to these guys, because you know you got 300, a little over 300 guys that are going to be here at the Combine, and even if you go to the Senior Bowl and the East-West game, there's only about 100 guys at each one of those. So there are still guys that the coaches haven't seen. Now the scouts, they've seen all of these guys, and this is just an affirmation for them. But this is the first time the coaches get to see some of these guys. So And the combine, the people that run the combine, these drills are put in by the coaches, by the position coaches. They are put in to see something that can relate to what they want to look at as far as to be able to watch guys do some things. Clearly, without pads on, it's hard to get really as to what you're doing playing football. But all of these drills have components to them that relate to what they would be doing. So, I mean, all of these drills are important. Each position has a specific part of it. So there's not one position group that doesn't benefit from doing these things, because everything they're doing has been planned out so that the coaches and the scouts can compare them apples to apples.
NFL, I guess, league office on projection of the cap. When you see a number grow like it did, like, does it change the movements of coaches and GMs as it pertains to free agency? I mean, 275 minimum, Coach Mack. That's a big number right there.
Well, the number's only going to get bigger too, right, Ramon?
I know, Coach Mack, and I love it for him.
It's not. There is no shrinkflation in the NFL. None.
None.
Ever.
No doubt.
I can remember when the salary cap. I go back long enough in this league to when there was no salary cap.
Wow.
Jeez.
When there was no free agency. I have seen this thing grow exponentially, and it's look, when you've got streaming services now coming in wanting to pay, $1 and $2 million for games, it's not shocking. And you know who benefits from it? Everybody.
Yes, they do, Coach Mack. And also this, too, when you sit in those rooms, Coach Mack, in those suites inside of Lucas Oil Field,
right?
How much intermingling does happen between clubs as far as discussing pre-free agency, Coach Mack?
That's where a lot of these trades are started right there. I mean, I can tell you, I can tell you guys and our listeners, a little behind the curtain, when I was with the Rams and we were going to make that trade to get up to number one to take a quarterback, because that's what we had decided that we were going to do once we moved out there to L.A. The Titans and the Rams, their suites were right next to each other, so you could just go walk right out the door into the other door. That's where those talks started. That's where all of these talks start. It starts to get serious, at least throwing out, and as we say, chumming the water with people as far as what you might want to do. This is where it all starts, is at the combine. And now the way it's set up there at Indy, where all those suites are adjoining, you just walk a circle around the whole Lucas Oil, and you can walk into anybody at any time. It's a big chance to get it started. I've been involved in it. That's where it starts.
Coach Mack joining us this morning on RKW. Speaking of free agency, once that gets going, we heard a little bit of new general manager Mike Borgonzi's viewpoint on what they might do in free agency, but they are really focused on building this team up from the draft. What if you were going to go out and look at any positions right now for free agency, Coach, would you think is most valuable for the Titans right now?
Well, I mean, they've got to get both the offensive front and the defensive front. They need to get that solidified, and they also need depth there. Now, the Titans have several spots that they need to fill, but again, all you've got to do, and I know you guys look at it very, very seriously, just like our listeners do. You just look at that Super Bowl. Is that the Philadelphia Eagles? They were the better football team on both lines of scrimmage.
Yeah.
They were the better football team on both lines of scrimmage, not only for that day, but during the season. And look at the number of draft picks that they had at those positions. I mean, that's the difference. And that's what you've got to start to build with, which, these guys, the Titans have said that's what they're going to do. That's where you start to build, because as much flair as you want to get with the National Football League game, and as much sizzle as it has, it's still a big man's game up front on both sides of the ball, always will be, and has been forever.
Absolutely, Coach Mack. That's where I am too, as far as like whether I asked the question yesterday. Are you tired of drafting offensive linemen? And a lot of people's like, yeah, but Coach Mack, that's one of the most necessary things that you can have in this league before you get the quarterback most times and before you can actually have a really good team is because the bigs, they lead, Coach Mack. Most of the time, you tell us what to do, we got you. And that's why it's important to hit on these guys in this next draft, Coach Mack.
Well, you look, again, this Super Bowl was such a revelation for everybody because it just the best offensive line in the league right now from left to right and depth-wise is in Philadelphia.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the best defensive front, they proved it. They were able to win a Super Bowl by rushing 4 people the entire game. When you can do that, and not only rush, but you can get a quarterback like Mahomes, who is the best there is at improvising or getting the ball out and be able to really put Andy Reid and that quarterback in a box because you were getting there with 4, you were match zone coveraging with 7. You've only got 5 eligible receivers. We'll do some math here. You can cover with 7. You got 4 over 3, 3 over 2, no matter which side they're throwing to. That's a great formula, but it all starts up front.
Coach Mack, I love when you talk ball like that, man.
Coach Mack joining us this morning, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford. We always appreciate you, Coach, and we will catch up with you next week in Indianapolis.
Absolutely. Guys, Ramon, look forward to the trip.
Yes, sir.
See you, Coach. So are you taking the trip in the Sprinter van is my question.
Definitely in the Sprinter van. We'll have it gassed up and ready to go.
And this is the thing. We were talking about truckers this morning and how some were kind of going crazy on the roads this morning fast. But I would think driving a big old
the van
like that would be stressful at times. Because I drove one with 13 kids, back when I did camp counseling.
Yeah.
And it was stressful at times, to say the least.
Not really, man. Only time it'll get you because it's got a high roof is a crosswind here and there, and it's flat as heck in Indy, too.
And it gets windy up there,
It's such a heavy vehicle, like you're good. And here's what I've learned about myself, too. I didn't realize it to my wife. It's just like, you don't let nobody drive. I was like, what are you talking about? I feel in control when I'm driving.
Yep.
I am in control when I'm driving.
I'm the captain now.
But, I don't really trust too many people who drive. I just don't, and it sucks because I'm always the driver, but I enjoy having the van and having everybody roll with us too. It's an 11-seater. Everybody gets their own little seat and everything. TVs.
I'm gonna have to check it out sometime. I've never even seen inside of that thing.
You have to come check it out, Kayla. But they said I did good last time driving them down to Mobile. So
and this is a much shorter trip to Indianapolis.
It is a much shorter trip. That Mobile trip can get long.
Yes, it can. We are going to wrap up the hour 2 here coming up next on RKW. So we talked a little bit about free agency, right? Mm-hmm. And we've also spoke about our good friend to the show, Trey Smith. Trey Smith, who recently, was with Kansas City. Don't know exactly what they're going to do with him next, but it doesn't look like they are going to franchise or transition tag him. So what does that mean for the Titans possibly? Are they in the mix to maybe sign a guy like that? We'll get into that next here on RKW 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back into RKW. Wrapping up hour 2 here on this Thursday morning. And Ramon Foster is giggling as he hears Renegade.
I didn't even have to request
Well
that.
played. Was that Justin back
you,
there
Justin.
or Bert? Was it Justin?
Hey.
Okay.
That was all me.
It's called brownie points in Ramon's book.
Don't even have to. Look, I didn't do it, but I'm loving it.
Oh, yeah. You were giddy from the jump. As you moved in here, you put your headphones in and you were giggling like a schoolboy.
Liz, yes, 100%.
Right?
When that song drops right there.
It does hit hard.
Pain is on the way. I'm telling you.
Nobody opposing
a little renegade
teams like that. No opposing fans like that. But if you're a Steelers fan and you bleed black and yellow, you love it. So I had mentioned the guy that I think a lot of Titans fans are interested in before the break. His name's Trey Smith. Probably familiar with him because about everybody in the NFL passed up on the former Tennessee guard, including the Tennessee Titans, which he's made it very clear and apparent on this show before when he has joined the show that he has a little chip on his shoulder because of that.
He does.
And guess what? He should, because he was given a chance by the Kansas City Chiefs when he was drafted, a 6th-round pick for them. And ever since, he has done nothing but deliver, Ramon Foster. And just this past year, just for one little random note, with the most pass-blocking snaps without allowing a sack this season, it was his teammate Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith with 732 snaps.
That's big time. Pass pro, like that's huge right there. I don't think you know how big that is. I saw somebody yesterday trying to critique him in a way as far as like pressures given up. Pressure is a natural part of playing on the offensive line. You're going to give up pressures. Like if it doesn't affect the play, then you're good. Like, again, if you got a quarterback like Patrick that moves around, that also causes pressures too because you don't know where he's going to line up at or how he's moving around the pocket.
Good point.
And here's the thing, too, about Trey slipping to the 6th. Trey slipping to the 6th round wasn't a talent issue.
It was the blood clots.
It was a health issue, 100%. Everybody knew he could play. If I'm not mistaken, the number 1 tackle that came out of his class, number 1 player, depending on which recruiting site you use, in that class too. So he played, and he played well. He transitioned from tackle to guard, seamless as you needed him to, and he just stacked up years after years after years and ended up getting 2 Super Bowls out of it too, with four visits, which is insane.
That is great, and I love that for him because he is a great dude. But when it comes down to it, at some point, you're going to have to pay for the product in a team, right? Yep. And so right now, he is by far the most sought after offensive lineman right now when free agency starts, 3 weeks from what it was Wednesday, I think. Yep. So according to Nate Taylor from The Athletic, the Chiefs are not expected to use the franchise or transition tag, on Trey Smith. So they give him pretty much the freedom then to go look other places, right? So other guys and other teams can say, hey, we want you here. This is what we would pay you. I think they're going to still try to work out a deal with him, but that's a lot of money. They have to fix their left tackle position too. So I know after that comes Trey Smith, but that also comes with a lot of money.
It does come with a lot of money, and I think they've already sold out for Creed Humphreys, the center.
Yep.
You got to think Joe Thuney is also a player that's already paid for them also. The right tackle has already been paid, so at some point you're probably just going to have to cut bait with a guy like Trey too. Talking to, we were listening to Borgonzi time or two, and from my understanding, they had his health issues under wraps. I think he said it on air, like there's not much monitoring of him with those issues either.
Which is fantastic.
Like they've got a system in place now where Trey is just simply playing football. You don't have to worry about all those other issues, man. But it's hot. It's do you, as the Titans, get him as your right guard? I think the dream scenario is yes.
But can they? I know you can afford it because you have money, but the question is there's so many other positions you need to put money towards. Would you be willing to put that all in on a guard? The
Borgonzi connection makes me say yes. Okay. Also this too, there's no other person on the offensive line that's getting paid like that other than him and Cushenberry. If he did come here. Your left guard is still a rookie on his rookie deal. Your left tackle just got on his rookie deal, and you have nothing on the right side of things. I think if we're playing this game of get Trey Smith to Tennessee, one, he's a West Tennessee kid. I've had conversations with him about that. I won't divulge that right now until I get clearance from him. But he's a West Tennessee kid. I think most folks that are from that state have probably watched it. I think he was Mr. Football whenever they were the Tennessee Titans introducing it too. It'd be home. He can go to Knoxville whenever he wanted to, and it's a matter of making sense. Now, the issue you run into is, all right, who's at quarterback? If in free agency they go after one of those veteran guys, I think you make Trey feel a whole lot better about, hey, I'm not just going to waste and just blocking for no particular reason. We heard D-Hop say that earlier this year too, right? He wanted to go play for a purpose. Give me a purpose on why we going out there on Sundays. Like, if Trey is projected to get over $20 million a year, that's cool, but it sucks to get your head bashed in with no end of the season other than go home. You know what I'm saying? Like, the competitor in you is cool. But I've seen, like, good players be on bad teams and don't get the praise. They don't get the Pro Bowls. They don't get the national televised games. They get none of those things except for the money. And it's cool in retirement. It's cool in the offseason, but I need to compete with the purpose. And that's where if it's between the Titans and Chicago, what kind of deal do the Titans have to give?
Chicago's kind of linked,
Bears?
could possibly be linked in.
Because they got the quarterback. They got everything.
I've seen Cincinnati too, by the way.
Cincinnati be in that conversation?
Yeah.
Good. I mean, and they need it too, and they got Joe Burrow. So it's that side of it for, I think, a guy like Trey that has to balance. All right, what is the taxes like in Chicago to where the Titans know they can give a comparable deal because we have no state income tax? So his check will be a little bit bigger because of the tax bracket the taxes.
Do you think, Mom, being an offensive lineman yourself, and I know you started and retired as a Steeler, so you didn't go anywhere else, but you talked to enough linemen in the business that they understand this. Do you think that it would be more intriguing and exciting for Trey Smith to come here with a rookie quarterback and maybe even someone like Cam Ward, who has not compared to Patrick Mahomes, but kind of knows how that type of quarterback plays in a way?
It would be good. I think if you're asking my opinion, go get a veteran, right? That's at least stable enough, and draft a guy. If that's number one overall pick, Cam or Shador, cool. It settles it. Here's the thing about it too: you sign a Trey for at least 4 years, also. So whichever quarterback it is, whether it's the bridge guy first and then the franchise quarterback of a first-round pick be next, then you're there. What you need out of Trey if you sign a guy like him is stability. Like right now, and then the other side of this for me is if you don't go get a veteran quarterback, I've said this time and time again with respect to the guys that's already on this Tennessee Titans team, but who are your leaders?
Yeah.
That's what Trey provides you also.
Especially on the offensive side.
Who on the offensive side of the ball is your leader? So this is probably more than just hey, we got a talented guard. This is now we got a guy that's a known leader too. He was one at Tennessee, he was one in Kansas City, and he knows how to play his role. And I'm throwing the winning ways out of it because you can come from a winning franchise and still lose on a team because it's more than just you, the person, unless you're the quarterback. So for Trey, I think it helps settle and guide also the center and making sure if they have to have a backup in until Lloyd gets right. And then you also have leadership for a guy like Peter Skoronski.
Yeah. Who
also, Trey played tackle and moved to guard. And I personally, I know he has Coach Bill Callahan, but it's nothing better than have a player that you can relate to that can teach you too. As much as Bill Callahan knows, if Peter Skoronski can learn from Trey Smith, that right there does a lot for you. That does a lot for Peter. That does a lot for JC. And then, of course, I mean, as good of a player, I feel like I'm selling him right now.
Well, I'm not buying now. Like, I was already sold on him. Now I'm like, now I'm really buying him just because you convinced me, too, with the leadership aspect.
The leadership.
Something that they just don't have on the whole offensive side of the ball, really.
Calvin. At this point, it goes to the player
Calvin,
with the
Calvin. It was his first year.
Exactly.
I don't really know if he's like a leader.
But it naturally goes to him because he's the guy that's making the biggest check on that side
and
of the ball.
And JC is gonna be that guy eventually, but he's still young.
Yeah, and Tony Pollard and also Tajay got to throw in there also. But when it's one of your bigs that's driving the boat, like it's a totally different voice at that point.
Man, you've convinced me. The money's definitely part of it, and he'd be having to be willing to come here too. But man, that would be, I think, a solid addition. And you just at least have one part of that right side shored up because, like you said, he's been nothing but consistent.
And he can coach up a young guy right tackle too.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point there. Speaking of the quarterbacks and maybe if he came here, who he would be protecting, let's get back into the discussion with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, but from a different viewpoint. So Emory Hunt, he does a great job, by the way, if you have seen any of his stuff, currently with CBS Sports HQ and Sportsline. But he put out a recent statement on a team that would go from worst to first this next season. And you'll be super surprised that the Titans are in the mix. And he'll give you a reason why that involves the quarterbacks. That's coming up next here on RKW 104.5 The Zone.
What's going on? 8:02, good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The NFL informed teams yesterday that the 2025 team salary cap will fall in the range of $277 to $281 million, way up from last year's $255 million. Cap will have increased more than $53 million over the last 2 years. So based on, we'll take the mean of those two figures, $279.5 million for the Titans in 2025. That would mean they would have around $42 million to play with going into free agency. Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, on the other hand, have projected a league-high $126 million in cap space, $25 million more than any other NFL team. To Cincinnati, where they got some big fish to fry this offseason with T. Higgins, Jermaine Pratt, Trey Hendrickson, all wanting new contracts or requesting trades. Their job just got a lot harder with Jordan Schultz's report yesterday that wide receiver Jamar Chase would not accept a contract less than $40 million a year. Currently, Justin Jefferson has the highest annual total with $35 million a year to Philadelphia, where the Eagles are elevating passing game coordinator and associate head coach Kevin Pachulo to offensive coordinator. The team announced yesterday Pachulo joined Philadelphia in 2021 as a passing game coordinator. He added associate head coach to his title in 2023. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome into hour 3 of Ramon, Kayla, and Will on this chilly Thursday morning. I see the sun peeking out a little bit, getting you to your job or wherever your destination is, maybe a little bit better today, right? So we got Ramon Foster back in the house, back in the building, and we've got Robert Walsh behind the glass, making it all happen. I'm Kayla Anderson. We're happy to have you. We always love to hear from you, 615-737-1045. Or you can always participate in our very popular, very social F&M Bake Chat. And we are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch.
Push, please.
I haven't heard that in a while.
Dang, blast from the past.
I know.
Well,
You put some film on here in the break, and Moan just gets on the next level.
Y'all ain't never seen this side of him. So he's like, who we watching? And all of a sudden, Ramon was breaking down the film, talking about feet, talking about aggressiveness. It don't get no better than when Ramon gets excited.
What you're breaking down in this first break.
We're breaking down Emory Jones right now, right tackle from LSU. Burke's got it on. He's going to hook me up with this film site that he has.
I know.
That does this is where we watch film right here.
I want to play it every break. I want a new guy up here every break.
We saw we looked at the side view to see the line of scrimmage and the setting of safeties and defense and stuff like that, and then we watched from behind. The only thing is this though, when watching offensive line tape, man, is it is one of the most long, drawn-out film sessions that you can have as a player because you got to watch all 5 spots. Like I'm trying to watch Emory Jones, but also Will Campbell on the other side. I'm trying to glance over him quick, too. Like, we used to have to, go the left tackle for LSU.
He's probably the first off the board.
I look at my reps, and then we got to go back and look at the right guard reps. Then we got to go look at the center. Then we got to go look at the left tackle. Then we got to look at the right side. So that's why I like the film session so long, which is why I actually enjoyed watching it, too. Like, I'm over trying to get a view at it. I need to switch seats is what needs to happen.
We need another TV for you.
We do.
Right,
we need one
across
from me and then just strictly across from him. Blow out one of these windows and just put in another HD
This is rich people problems over here. We would like another screen, please.
We want another big screen TV.
Ramon is rubbing off on us. But to pivot off of
that's okay, though.
Pivot off of Emory Jones going to Emory Hunt.
I know.
Who had a pretty big quote about the Titans if they were to grab one of these 2 quarterbacks.
Look at you, Big J guy over there. And you're right, Emory Hunt, if you don't know him or haven't seen any of his work, he's done a lot in terms of this business. He's a former running back. He's done some college football color analysis, speaker, author, but currently he works with CBS Sports. He's on CBS HQ and hosts does some hosting there. So anyways, the other day he was on a segment, and they have done this in the past called Worst to First.
Yeah.
And he will explain this, but he picked the Commanders as the team last year from worst to first, because if they picked the quarterback and got it right, which was Jaden Daniels, who he predicted, that would be the reason.
Yeah.
And it looked like that worked out because he at least had his team, in terms of picking the Commanders, go to the playoffs. So here is what, when this game was played this offseason, worst to first, here is his answer on who that team would be.
My Garden State a lot of love. I appreciate that. And you're up first here. You think the team drafting first will make a major leap, and then also maybe the Panthers are a lot better this year. Why?
Well, timeout. Last year at draft time, I was sitting next to your co-host right there, Jacqueline, and I said that the Washington Commanders will go to the playoffs based off them drafting Jaden Daniels. The clip is out there, the tweets out there, the receipts are out there. Now to your question. I like Tennessee because here's the thing. That roster to me is not bad at all. They just need a quarterback. They have two solid receivers, really good tight end, a collection of tailbacks, and defensively the front seven is really good. And on the back end, they were banged up a lot last year to get a lot of those guys back healthy. So the template has already been put in place. The foundation is set. Any quarterback you add, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, makes this team a playoff team. And the Panthers, based off how they finished, they started to get a little bit more fight in them. We saw Bryce Young look like the Bryce Young in Atlanta. I'm sorry, in Alabama. But in Atlanta, they played a great game now in that way. But I like them carrying over from last season into next year. They'll add a few more pieces. Bryce Young is confident. The Panthers look like a team that can get into the postseason as well.
Okay, Titans.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, I like Emory Hunt. I like his work. And I agree with some of what he said. But the foundation set, that's what I feel like we've been talking about that they need to keep doing in terms of having hits in the draft. And then the other thing that I don't understand is, who is your second wide receiver? I know Calvin Ridley's the one, but are we assuming that Treylon Burks is going to magically appear after 3 years of being here and not being able to stay on the field? Or Nick Westbrook-Akine is a clear number 2 guy, or he's even guaranteed to come back here? What?
Yeah. That was the only red flag I had, was the 2 wide receivers. Calvin really can be something, but I think he needs a Robin. That's for sure. He needs a Robin. The question is, who is the Robin? Because Tyler Boyd contract's expired. Nick Westbrook-Akine's is expired too right now. So unless he's speaking about Treylon Burks and a good quarterback can make him a better wide receiver,
right,
then that's the only thing that I can see he's making sense of. I'm looking at right now the PFF lineup as it pertains to the Titans offense right now. The Titans have 2.5 because Nick Westbrook-Akine is almost green on PFF as far as their grading goes. Everybody else is yellow, which is fair, I guess, for the most part.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the defense has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 from this past year, 9 with Quandre Diggs being on at safety too when he was healthy. The offense has a ways to go. I do know, like he was saying here, a quarterback can change a lot. It's so much back and forth on what do the Titans do, which is a good thing because, again, it leaves the mysterious ways of what will happen for the fans. What it doesn't do, though, is what a lot of fans are looking for, the hope. I just saw an engagement with a few guys in the few people. I'm not sure if they're all guys, few people in the YouTube chat speaking about like the home schedule. Then I got Bubba from Dixon, man, released the home teams that the Titans are supposed to play this year, and it's not nice. It's Dallas, it's Philly, it's Washington, it's Green Bay, Kansas City, the LA Chargers, Minnesota again, and San Francisco. That ain't no easy home schedule. So if we're talking about trying to set yourself up for winning, and, I got Emory Hunt said that this team is set up to just have one of these 2 quarterbacks come in and help it, well, it's going to need a little bit more free agency to help that get over the edge, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Interesting take there, but like I said,
I can't wait to have him on the show.
Yeah, he was there, and we are going to have him on the show. That's right, Ramon. I was going to mention that. It'll be interesting for us to ask that thought too and kind of give them what we just talked about. Hey, what about the wide receiver position? Did you think about that? Who is your number 2 then that you were thinking of? Let's go out to the phone lines and get to Bam real quick before the break in Nashville. Bam, what's up, man?
What up, Bam?
Yo, what up, good? What's good, fam? Everybody doing all right?
We're doing good, Bam.
Good.
Man, I'm trying to stay warm, man.
Yes.
You better.
Yo, check this, man. The more we get into this draft thing, the more listening to y'all is a beautiful thing, but it's also stressful, too, because there's so many different angles that you can go off of, so many different angles that we can. But I think I'm stuck on this quarterback, man. I don't think we have the luxury to really miss like that, like we've been missing. And what it should, and I'm going to be real with you, I'm cool with Cam or Shador, but I'm more so leaning towards Shador because he's already ready. And I'd say Shador because I think Brian Callahan needs more of a, and none of them are guaranteed hit, but I feel like Shador may give him another year to get where he needs to go. Cam is almost kind of like that crapshoot that you don't necessarily know.
He's more of the risk reward.
Absolutely. I don't think right now he got the luxury to do that. He doesn't have the luxury to do that. So, I mean, I'm not upset either which way it goes, but I don't know. Even though we got the number 1 pick, it still feels super scary, like what's finna happen.
Yeah, we're all in that boat, right?
The off season is still scary. Like, why can't we just have a peaceful, unstressful, like the life of being a Titans fan is just like, it's like we meant to be stressed out. Why is that, Ramon? Come on, man. Here we go with the therapy. Get your life together, bro.
I know. It's a fascinating approach, and maybe that's where Callahan. So we got a topic coming up next, man. What is your approval rating? We should have got Bams right there. Wait, it was quick.
I know.
On the trigger.
Shoot, yeah.
What's your approval rating on Coach Brian Callahan? Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of different things that go into that conversation. Bam asks why are the Titans like that? Is because one, the foundational pieces that you have either retired, got traded away in A.J. Brown, or just, didn't go the way you needed them to. First round picks matter a ton. Your core players too matter a ton. What was this racing McMath? Like drafting guys like that did not work out for
a project
here and there just doesn't matter. And I'll be honest too, I saw the comment earlier, it's just like Pittsburgh has a very sound foundation as a team.
They know what they want.
But they don't have a quarterback.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying? Like, that matters too. Like, Ryan Tannehill was good, but there should have been a succession plan for him. And they tried with Will.
They tried. I almost think they tried with Malik first.
Well, what we do know is this now, too. The Titans had made a play to move up to go get C.J. Stroud.
Yeah,
it
didn't work out.
They got leapfrogged by the Texans. That is something that happened. It did not work. Your team tried and was on their way to the podium to make that happen, and it didn't. So imagine where this team would be had they actually been able to get that C.J. Stroud pick. You know what I'm saying? So the attempts were there. It's just been bad, Bam.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it because we got the conversation of Brian Callahan's approval rating.
Yeah, if you want to get involved in the conversation, 615-737-1045. What is your approval rating of Brian Callahan after 1 year? We'll get into that and get your thoughts on it here on RKW 1045, The Zone.
What's up? It's Will Bowling. Do you have a ceiling light fixture that flickers? Do you need an extra outlet or two? Or, hey, do you just have those wall switches that don't seem to work the way that they are supposed to? Well, these all seem to be simple issues. However, they are rarely do-it-yourself projects. Dealing with electricity requires the expertise of an experienced professional. So you got to call the pros over at Lee Company to make sure everything is that it is supposed to. And I'm here to tell you as well, their electrical team can solve any problem you have safely and efficiently. We love that word, efficient, right? 24/7, 365. Lee Company is always available to help you out. They'll get in, they'll get out. It'll be quick, and everything will work properly around the house or around your business. And right now, they got a great deal for you as well. You can enjoy $30 off an electrical service call for a limited time. Just contact Lee Company today at 615 615-567-1000 or head online to leadcompany.com for an appointment. That's 615-567-1000. Trust the folks with 14 community locations and over 80 years of experience. Since 1944, Lead Company has been helping this community. 615-567-1000 or online at leadcompany.com. That's Lead Company, all you need.
Welcome back into RKW on this Thursday morning. The sun is shining. That's what we wanted. It's still cold out there. Don't let that fool you.
No, don't let that
Don't let that fool you. We still got some snow. So we're going to do a little bit of an approval rating game. And it's not on the callers this time because we do have our caller approval rating that we once in a while will pop up. But this one is for you guys to give an approval rating on. We are talking about the first-year head coach for the Tennessee Titans, just finishing up his first year in Brian Callahan. So let me first of all just give you some numbers and some percentages to work with before you give your approval rating, Ramon. So the Titans, and by the way, this can be on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best approval rating.
Yes.
So this year, in terms of the Titans offense, Titans were 27 in overall scoring, number 26 in total yards, and number 31 in turnovers, with 34 turnovers to be exact. Yes. The number 26 in terms of passing offense, that was second most interceptions with 21. A lot of those on Will Levis. Number 19 in rushing offense, and 30.4% of drives ended in a score, which was 29th in the NFL. Again, that's out of 32, folks. 16.8% of their drives ended in a turnover, which is the most in the NFL. So those are the offensive numbers that aren't too hot. And when we think of Brian Callahan this year, I think we mostly tie him to, well, the offense wasn't there, right? The offensive production didn't really improve overall. Now, when you look at the defense, I think that's what kept them in even the games that they won, a lot of those games. But it wasn't great at times either. The defense only forced turnovers 8.7% of drives. That ranked 25th in the NFL. They allowed the third worst starting field position in the NFL. And 6 out of their 14 losses were one-score losses. They were beaten by 23, by the way, in Washington, 38 in Detroit, 24 in Buffalo, and 16 by, old Malik Willis in the Green Bay Packers. So there are some numbers to present you with that skews maybe your thoughts a little more, because numbers always back things a little bit. But what is your approval rating of Brian Callahan in year one?
Let me just sprinkle in a little positivity real quick.
Yeah, do what you want
but
with
it's
this.
tongue in cheek though too with my positivity. The wins that you had, first win of the season was Week 4 in Miami on Monday Night Football. The Titans won 31-12, first time been over 30 points, and I think in like 20 some months or something like that, in over a year. So they scored 31 points then. Going to the bye week, lose 3 straight before winning again in overtime to a backup quarterback in the New England Patriots with a first-time head coach also. You won that game in overtime, 20-17. Not a whole lot of light at the end of the tunnel right there either, Kayla. Go out to the West Coast. You mentioned 10-point loss to the Chargers. Also ended up losing by 10 points to the Minnesota Vikings. And then your last win of the season came November 24th in Houston. Might I add, you won that one, another 30-point game, 32-27. Will Levis, I think, had his best showing that game also. Also, at that point, you had a bunch of the team saying that was a spark you needed, and then you proceeded to lose the next, 7 games of the season. So, bad showing in all of 2024 for Brian Callahan and the Tennessee Titans. My approval rating, Kayla, for Coach Callahan, all things considered, because here's the other part of us having to judge his approval rating.
Sure.
He's just not the play caller, right? We give a lot of his responsibility to just the offense, but he's also the head coach.
Yes.
So when you look at what the offense did, and you gave those bad numbers right there, you look at what the defense eventually ended up doing because he's the head man in charge, and then also special teams and just development of players too. Like, if we're rating this 1 out of 10, my approval rating of Coach Brian Callahan after year 1 is probably a 3 out of 10. That's just where
just the amount of wins they got.
Yeah.
There we go.
30%, man. And here's why. no facet, no section of this team got better. Will Levis was expected to be a whole lot better as a quarterback. Right? Mm-hmm. That one failed miserably this year. Again, his best showing was in Houston. Aside from that, there was nothing else you can ask that he did well for you this year. When we look at the defensive side of things, I know it's the Dart Wilson side of the ball, but the coach also should be applying pressure to all bodies, all hands on deck as it pertains to your expectation. And I'm sure he did, but also with his sit down with Easton Freeze, he admitted he needed to have more eyes and say so on what the defense is doing, or more communication on what their side of the ball. Yes, during the week.
Absolutely. That is what he said.
And then when we go to the lowly special teams, in your first year, you ended up firing, basically, your special teams coordinator.
Colt Anderson.
Colt Anderson. First game of the year, you had a block return for a touchdown, punt block return for a touchdown. Just time and time again, that played a huge part into where this team went over the course of the year, was predicated upon the special teams. When you had also, who was the kick returner this past year? Fair catching footballs on the 5-yard line or 2-yard line. Those are just unacceptable things. So Jaquan Jackson, unacceptable things that the flow of the team had to suffer because of. Let's just go to the top man, head man in charge, Brian Callahan. Your ship wasn't selling the way you needed it to. So for me, it was a 3 out of 10. Love to hear from yours, you, Kayla, and everybody else on where they are.
Yeah, 615-737-1045 if you want to give your approval rating of Brian Callahan after year one, because no doubt the pressure is on in this year two, especially since he was saved and Rand Carthon was not. Because when it all is said and done, it was Chad Brinker, Brian Callahan, and Rand Carthon that were responsible for what was put out on the field. And I would say more so even Brian Callahan, in my opinion, because you, again, were brought in. You took on a job that you knew you were not given the quarterback that you had picked.
Yeah.
And there was a challenge in trying to get Will Levis to fit into what you were bringing in as Brian Callahan and what he needed to fit into. There is a lot of mention when they worked with him in training camp, and I mean Will Levis, that they were reining it back, that they were going from almost the beginning with him, and the fundamentals and the footwork and intermediate passes that we so much talked about, where we didn't even see him let it loose in terms of his arm for a few games, because they were trying to really mold him into what they wanted him to be as an efficient quarterback. And that failed really from the jump because Will Levis was in his own head.
Yeah.
And so I think the nervous system kind of comment we heard from Brian Callahan at the end of the year, what he wants in a quarterback is he needs a good nervous system. I think he kind of knew from the start Will Levis might not have that. So the inability to mold the quarterback into what you wanted him to be. Also, I don't think Mason Rudolph really looked great.
No, he did not.
And
either.
I think maybe he regressed as well. You look at the offensive line, he brought his dad in, his dad very well regarded. I think he did help some guys like Peter Skoronski. I think J.C. Latham in the beginning, we saw some really good things from him. But the inability to have that right tackle position at least somewhat figured out, where you would have a guy play a full game at right tackle, which we barely saw that season. Yeah. So the inability to do that, and I just think not being able to put at least a few more points up on the board. We stayed and said 17 so many times this year. And
they averaged 18.3 points a game, just so you know.
So there's so much just on the offense that you were brought in to help at least improve that you didn't. I'm going to go with a 4 out of 10.
You got a 4 out of 10? Okay.
Is what I'm going to go with.
And it's a lot of things, too. Wasn't it Easton Freeze that had to sit down with him over an hour?
Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports.
Easton Freeze had to sit down with him. So I still have notes from that also. Just listen to their conversation. It was very fascinating. Like, if you guys hadn't listened to that, shout out to Easton Freeze for getting Coach Callahan to really unlock and speak the way he did for over an hour, man. You get a lot of answers from him on Levis, on the structure of this team, him as a coach, like a lot. And some of my notes that I had from it, like, it was apparent and Callahan somewhat alluded to it, like he was learning on the job. Mm-hmm. Like, and some of my notes I had from that was playing Burks over NWI. He admitted it. Like, one of my notes I have from that.
I forgot about that, actually.
Yeah,
he should have maybe played him earlier, NWI.
Yeah, and so here it is. He admitted he should have played NWI sooner. But he said this, and you got to give grace to a guy on that. And I still hold my rating 3 out of 10 for this, though. He said Traylon Burks has talent, and he also wanted to coach that talent, too. Again.
It's a first-round pick.
Everybody loves the first-round picks. And I was like, NWI to him wasn't expected to be good. Undrafted guy, role player, right? It's like you always go with your first-round pick. It's like, which sucks because the Titans missed out on so many different things early in the season. He said he wished he had reorganized. He wished he had recognized NWI's talent way sooner and valued him more. I also think is this the reason I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10 too, is because I get the respect that D-Hop has, but as a coach, especially in that first year, you have to establish your method of operating. And to allow D-Hop to go to California at that time, and I get everybody was on board with that, but you needed D-Hop. And because of that, I don't think D-Hop understood your offense throughout the duration of the season. For as much as D-Hop said he wanted to go play meaningful football, like, I know everybody has their own doctors that they trust in the NFL, especially like guys that are deeply into their health and just preservation of their bodies. There could have been a way for you to facilitate that in the state of Tennessee is the way I look at it, too. That was flagrant to me.
I think that's a good point, Ramon. When I remember early on in the season, too, you can tell Brian Callahan was really learning on the job, right? Learning how to be a head coach, but also how to be a play caller. Because, again, he's a first-time play caller as well. Learning how to give his time to the defense, like you mentioned, he needs to get better at. But so many times early on in the season, he would say, I need to get D-Hop the ball more, or I need to get Calvin Ridley the ball more. I need to do a better job. I think he was also having to figure out how to deal with these veterans that expect to get the ball more and some of the personalities that come along with it. I feel like there was so much on-the-job learning for Brian Callahan last year and not enough parts that he should have been given another opportunity. I'm okay with him being here. I just think that, Rand should have been here too.
Yeah.
And that's water on the bridge at this point. But I think this next year we're going to see progress in terms of some of those management issues that he seemed to deal with last year.
No doubt. And here's another thing, too, as far as him being a first-time head coach. If you listen to the Easton Freeze interview, those first 2 weeks wrecked him, Coach Callahan. He says
just like it wrecked Will Levis.
He drops that and my point of it is wrecking him. He expected to win those first 2,
and they should have.
They could have. They should have for sure. He alluded to it time and time again. It's like the first 2 weeks. It was the Chicago Bears with a rookie quarterback on the road. Should have had that one. Opening game, optimism going into the season, and then the next one was the home opener against the Jets at home. You could have won both of those games, and you hear that coming out of his tone in that interview. And one more thing, too, before we go to the call, see what have it. But he also acknowledged this. He gave Will Levis away. Yeah. He did. He said, essentially, is what I took from it. Will isn't a precision timing quarterback. He needs shots downfields. He needs 1, 2, and 3 options all going in the same direction or a deep pass. His scanning the field was not good. Is what he said.
Well, we saw that on a lot of one-read situations.
Exactly. And the interception for a pick 6. Yes, for Jair Alexander.
Yeah.
And then the other one, too, his scanning the field wasn't good. The protection also wasn't good, too. And he's just not fully processing. Will Levis admitted that himself, too. So if you got time and you want to hear the direction on Coach Callahan in year 1, shout out to Easton because he did a good job on getting him to say a lot of stuff that I didn't think he should have said, but it's good that he did say it. Transparency is what you're looking for.
Absolutely. And that's fine. And I respect the heck out of him for that. I do. I really like Brian Callahan, but these are things that he has to improve on at some point this season. Else there's just not going to be the patience to keep a guy like that another year.
I think his patience run out.
Right.
And the offseason, of course, resettles everything back, right? Mm-hmm. You get back to 0. But it sounds to me in hearing him, he's out.
If he doesn't improve, that's for sure.
I think he's out in general.
You think even if they win games next year, more than 3?
No, I'm not talking. I was talking about Will Levis and Coach Callahan.
Oh, I was like, dang. Will Levis,
Yeah.
I think he's there to start training camp. What's after that, I don't know. That's what I'll say.
Back.
Eric is in Nashville, and he's got a thought and an approval rating on Brian Callahan after year 1. What's up, Eric?
Hey, guys. First of all, before I get to start, Ramon, I just want to say I appreciate when you said that I make you smile, and I hope I always am able to do that. But before I get to that, guys, I wanted to go back to something yesterday. You talked about spankings and stuff like that. But, Ramon, I want to ask you, did your parents ever make you get your own switch to whip
you better believe it. And I never made the mistake of getting a small. I knew I had to bring something reasonable back, Eric. I had to bring something reasonable back. You hear me?
Yeah. No, that's the same thing with me. They didn't do it every time, but they did from time to time, left marks on your body. And I also remember getting spanked, started crying before I got hit. But what was worse is when they would hit you and would say a word as they were hitting you. Slap.
They needed a
and then they tell you to shut up crying as they was hitting you. It was just, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Hey, but guys, but in all seriousness, as far as Brian Callahan goes in his grade, I'd give him a C-. And here's the thing. You guys talked about the first 2 games. I don't blame that all on him because of the turnovers by Levis and all that stuff. Also the special teams, which some would say it's his fault because he didn't fire the special teams coach when he should have fired him. Of course, he's not back now. And also the way he had punts blocked. You can't blame that all on him. But, of course, there was some situational footballs you could probably blame on him and how he's handled some offensive things. I know a lot of people want to give him a D or F, but I would probably give him a C- for the coach this past year, and hopefully he can do a better job. But I just hope after this season he doesn't wind up getting fired. I just don't want anybody to get fired because if that happens, it'll be the 4th straight year this organization has fired somebody.
A major
so we'll see what
firing,
happens.
too.
Guys, y'all take care and we'll talk again
You
soon.
too, Eric. Stay warm, man.
Appreciate you, Eric. We'll comment on that. I've got something to say about that in terms of another year, another firing possibly. We'll get to that. Plus your calls. If you've got an approval rating for Brian Callahan, give us a call. Explain why. We'd love to hear from you. 615-737-1045. That's next.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Good people, I've heard a few of you guys have been by there, man. I promise you, I'm not just telling you about this because I want you to go. It's because I go also, okay? And right now, man, they have my approval, my seal of approval. This is because of this special offer they have for you, too. It's behind the lines offer. It's a $37 offer. Yes, the opposite of my number, 73 is 37. But it's a consultation that includes a doctor visit, x-rays if you need them, and your first treatment. If you also need more in-depth treatment because you're part of the Zone family, guess what? They'll give you an extra 50% off spinal decompression treatment. Man, Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are the best at what they do. And not just that, man. They have the state-of-the-art facility, too. I walked in and was just simply amazed by the decompression machines. They have zero gravity running machines there, man. They have a strategy in place to get you back to your best. And I know what you're probably thinking, well, Ramon, you play football. No, you guys, most of you guys work out of play sports all your life also. And just to anybody that have back or neck pain, this is the place that you want to go to, man. They want to help you, not keep you there, man. Start your pain-free life, man, with the call to the Wellness Institute of Nashville at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
Welcome back into Arcade Dub, wrapping up hour 3 on this Thursday. Gone pretty fast this morning, guys.
Nice.
We like to thank you guys, too, calling in. Love your participation in the chat today as well. Man, the chat's just heating up. I think this is a new way to watch and listen, right?
It is.
People love it.
And we got some ratings also for Coach
Approval
Brian
ratings?
Callahan. Approval ratings
We
for
do.
Callahan in there, too.
We asked you the question in the last segment. What is your approval rating of Titans head coach Brian Callahan after year 1? And I did want to, before we get to the calls, Eric called in and he was mentioning, like, at some point we've got to have some stability with the front office or the head coaches. And he's right. I mean, in the last 4 years, they have fired somebody prominent in each of those 4 years, whether that be the first year in John Robinson, following up by Mike Vrabel, following up by Rand Carthon, now following by Brian Callahan. And again, they're all somewhat attached to one another. And that's why I think we kept on saying you just have to kind of cut everybody out if you were going to do it last year, because now you still will have Brian Callahan connected to the Rand Carthon situation with Chad Brinker. So it's kind of like an ever-ending loop.
Yeah.
And so you hope Brian Callahan does, in fact, get a little bit more time, but how much time will he be given? Let's go out to the phone lines, and we check in with Marcus Jones, and he's in Nashville with an approval rating. What's up, Marcus?
I'm back again, man. I'm back.
Oh, that's Marcus again.
Marcus, darling.
Marcus, look at you, a 2-for-1 today.
Hey, man, y'all asking me questions, and you already know the answers. But my approval rating don't even have a letter that's in y'all alphabet. I'm gonna talk like Bubba Dub. Bubba Dub. Trash. That's what he is. He's trash. Yeah, all right? That's all he is trash.
Oh, man.
I don't understand why we keep hiring people. We got to teach how to coach. Ain't you supposed to be the coach before you get the job? It's like being a customer service agent and ain't doing your service when you and not dealing with the customers.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know, these things that y'all saying that he got to improve on, he should already be a part of that, man. You know, golly.
Yeah.
I feel like we just, we nitpicking.
Yeah.
To try to get a coach.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
We need to just be gangster with it and stop paying people when we get rid of them. Stop doing that.
Right.
We got to just start I'm just saying, man. We owe all these people money, and we ain't winning nothing.
Marcus, I mean, he could have went on for the whole segment
started
if you would have let him.
Now.
I get it. He's frustrated.
Marcus said trash, which means that's a 1.
That's it, or a 0.
This is 1. I thought it was 1 through 10. We got to give him
that's
a 1.
right. I guess I went negative on that.
You
Sorry,
went
y'all.
negative on that one.
Whoops.
Marcus is a 1.
Well, he's a 1. Okay, Mike in Cleveland. Maybe he'll up that approval rating.
Oh, we at Mike. Good morning, Mike.
What up with you?
Mike,
good morning. Oh, y'all want the horn?
Yeah,
I didn't know we were worthy.
I didn't want you to get scared, Mon. I heard how my fellas was scaring you. You know what I'm saying? You was holding on at 10-2 and clinching too tight.
I was. He hit that corner fast this morning, Mike, and just continue to just hit 70, 80 in a 55 is all I'm saying.
Hey, man, listen. All I know is I woke up to about 6 to 10 inches of snow, and I'm still going 60, 70, you know?
Okay.
But don't tell on me. Don't tell on me.
I won't tell on you.
That's just what we do, you know? Stay out the middle of the highway, get in the right-hand lane, and let us go by. You feel me?
Keeping it gangster like that.
I got you.
Yeah. But no, my approval rating is higher than Marcus, for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and get him, man. I didn't know we was doing 1 through 10. I thought we was doing alphabet.
You can do alphabet. Do whatever the hell you want.
Well, then I'm gonna give him a C. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a C, just a flat out C, not a plus, not a minus. I feel like he was handcuffed by Levis and his lack of play. Also, you know, I've expressed going into this last season, you know, the whole team as a whole, but Callahan coming in was a little bit hyped up and spoke, you know, like we was all excited.
Yeah.
You know, our expectations was bigger than reality. And so, you know, I'm like, let's let's get a man. Let's get a man to see. Let's keep our expectations, level, and him still just being a second-year coach. And let's see what he do this year. You dig? He did do some things in some games, but he was handcuffed to a bad quarterback. So let's see what he come out and do this following year. But yeah, man, y'all be good. Y'all stay safe. Moan, stay out the middle of the highway. Stay in the right hand lane.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, that's taken from that's coming from a true truck driver there.
Yes, sir. Mike gave him a C. So
I've seen a lot of C's in the F&M Bank chat too.
I have too.
So
I got
C
Duck.
flat.
Duck had a 6, I think, or a 7, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Okay, Duck.
Duck believes
Give
in
a little love.
It was, but it's to me. Do you blame a lot of this on Will Levis? Because it seems to be the most common thread in all of this.
That's the easiest one to put blame on because he put a lot of it on himself.
But here's the other thing, though, too. Like Coach Callahan's success is the entire team, though.
Yeah.
Right? Like
100%.
that's a part of it too.
It's
and
not
that's
just
where,
the
like
offense.
I said, the special team side of it, especially with Stoney getting his knee hit again,
Ryan Stonehouse,
and pretty much just being schemed up a lot of times in special team plays was unacceptable. Then of course the way the defense deteriorated too. Like that's the part of it to me to where we can blame Denard, we can blame Colt also, but a head coach has got to be the guy that commands everybody be raised up to the same exact standard. So that's where my 3 out of 10 comes into play. And of course, he's got grace with me because of the quarterback and the team being young left tackle, all those types of things too. And injuries have happened too, and you had to trade away one of your best assets, and and DeAndre Hopkins. So I still sit at a 3 out of 10 and hoping that, look, this upcoming year changes a lot for him.
Yeah, I would. What would it need to rise to, like a 7 for you to get to the point where you're like, all right, I believe enough to bring him back?
I think it's just like I said before, even where I rate him as a 3 out of 10, I still think he deserves a mulligan for what happened in 24.
And he got it.
He did
he's
get it.
Still here.
But as far as like firing him quick without having his guy and having a a dud at quarterback and not finding the right tackle, like I do think he can coach it. But I saw somebody in our chat say this too. It seemed like he was used to dealing with veteran quarterbacks for the most part too in his career.
Joe Burrow wasn't a veteran quarterback.
But he wasn't directly calling plays for Joe either. So there's that side of like the attachment to Joe Burrow, in my opinion.
Good point. 615-737-1045. We'll continue to take your calls. What kind of approval rating would you give Brian Callahan after year 1? We're going to enter hour 4 of our program. Look, the NFL salary cap has just been estimated for this next season, and like we expected, it's increased. What does that mean for the Tennessee Titans, maybe in free agency too, and how that could affect who they could sign? We'll get into that and take your calls. That's coming up next in hour 4 of RKW here on 104.5 The Zone.
What's going on? 9:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I am Robert Walsh. The NFL informed teams that the 2025 salary cap will fall in the range of $277 million and $281 million, which is way up from last year's $255 million. The cap has increased more than $53 million over the last 2 years. So based on, we'll take the mean of those two numbers, the $279 million available to the Titans, they will have around $42.7 million to spend in free agency. Mike Vrabel and the Patriots are projected to have a league-high $126 million in salary cap space, over $25 million more than any other NFL team. Cincinnati's got some big fish to fry this offseason with T. Higgins, Jermaine Pratt, and Trey Hendrickson all wanting new contracts or requesting trades. Their job just got a lot harder after Jordan Schultz's report yesterday that wide receiver Jamar Chase would not accept a contract less than $40 million a year. Currently, Justin Jefferson is the highest paid wide receiver annually with $35 million allocated to his salary a year. To the Eagles, as they're elevating passing game coordinator and associate head coach Kevin Pachulo to offensive coordinator. Pachulo joined Philly in 2021 as the passing game coordinator. He added associate head coach to his title in 2023. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Put those fours up. That is right. We have entered hour 4 of Ramon, Kayla, and Will on this hump day. The sun is shining. The snow's still on the ground a little bit. So if you're trying to get to your destination, just be a little careful this morning and courteous of others. Alongside our 11-year NFL veteran, we've got Ramon Foster in the house. We've got Robert Walsh, better known as Bert, behind the glass, making the show happen. I'm Kayla Anderson. Will drive us all the way until the 10 o'clock hour. And we've got some new news today. If you were paying attention to the world of the NFL, which many of us do yesterday, you probably saw that there has been a new estimation on the 2025 salary cap. So this is per Dan Graziano of ESPN. He had wrote yesterday that the NFL informed teams that the 2025 per team salary cap will fall in the range of $277.5 million to $281.5 million. That is way up, Moan, from last year's $255.4 million. And the thing that blows my mind is the cap will have now increased by more than $53 million over the last 2 years, which is wild to think.
A bit of that too is get back from the COVID year.
That's right.
Yes, when they get back from the COVID year. Also, I was telling you guys from the time that I came in, the salary cap was $123 million. It's gone up $152 million in the last 16 years, which is again, Roger Goodell. That's one of the reasons they say he get tipped each year by the owners, is because of the job that he does as far as growing the league. And you know what? He's going to continue to do it. The league is going to continue to do it and make money off of it, because no matter what has happened since we've been locked into cable, we've been locked into Sunday Ticket, right, where you can only get it with DirecTV, and then there was Red Zone with other networks and stuff like that, to where now we're all streaming it. The halftime show was one of the highest that they've ever had before, not just because
with Michael Jackson's,
Yeah, it was bigger. Yeah, Kendrick's was bigger than his. And now, the way you consume it, they've made it readily available because we're all on our phones or laptops or at a bar or something like that, to where each game is in your face. And as much as we joked about, they'll play on Tuesdays they have. This past year, only day that wasn't played on was Tuesday. They played on Wednesday on Christmas, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Monday.
Dang.
It's not going anywhere. And as many people say that they're not watching the game, lies. this consumes us. This is America's sport right here, and I don't think we can get enough of it at this point.
You're right. You're absolutely right. They put out as much as they want, and we say, well, are we really going to watch it? And yeah, we end up watching it. And by the way, we're going to get back out to the phone calls in just a minute, but Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports did do a kind of projected salary cap on all 32 teams. So I'm looking at the Tennessee Titans right now, just so you guys can know out there. And none of these numbers yet are set in stone that we just announced. These are just what they're expecting the numbers to be around. But he has the projected cap space for the Tennessee Titans currently just a little bit over $44 million to work with. So that means obviously they need to do some things in addressing free agency, Ramon, but they also have got to use that money for other things.
What do you have the rest of the figures, like team figures in front of you too? Right now, just the Titans.
It's like a long list.
Yeah, because I wanted to see what the rest of the AFC South had available to it also. Because
they're
again,
all by alphabetical order.
They're all, because Houston, because they're the strongest team in the AFC South right now. And considering they have their quarterback, they got a solid defense, they changed offensive coordinators. What will they have to work with this offseason? Because they do have Nico Collins and a few others on that team.
Yep. So just for another AFC South team, the Indianapolis Colts have predicted just over $28 million in terms of cap space, and the Houston Texans, I thought I had it and didn't. Here we go. Houston Texans. They have minus $2 million about in projected.
So you're going to have to do some
space.
restructuring in this offseason.
Yes, because you just labeled all those things that they had.
Yeah, their defense is nice. They got really good offensive weapons, too. They paid for Joe Mixon this past offseason also. So I was just wondering how they were going to continue to compete.
They always find ways, right? What's up, Bert?
And not to be like a Debbie Downer about this, I saw a lot of Titans fans like, we got more money to spend. But I think this actually affects like Titans and teams that have more money inversely, because it gives teams that have less money more room to operate. So you could argue before this big jump, the Kansas City Chiefs don't have that much money. But now with the jump, they would have more wiggle room with restructures to go out and sign some guys. Maybe it's not Trey Smith, but maybe it's another competing free agent that the Titans would be going after as well. So teams that would be at the bottom that are actually contenders, I think, are the bigger beneficiaries of a jump like this, unless you're looking at teams that are already contenders at the top of this list, which is basically the Chargers and Washington Commanders with almost $80 million to spend in free agency.
Yeah, that's wild.
The Commanders?
The Commanders.
With the year that they just had?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when you're looking at a team that really attacked free agency last year, they went out and found a lot of dudes, didn't sign a lot of huge free agents, but brought in a lot of guys who would be solid starters. Brought in Bobby Wagner, brought in Nick Allegretti on the offensive line, brought in Dante Fowler, went and pick and chose their battles about where they wanted to sign guys. But now you've got to pay the piper, because most of those deals were 1 year and 2 year options. So the Commanders will have to double dip in the free agency pool once again, but they had a good run in it last year.
Good point there, Bert. Appreciate you kind of breaking it down a little. It's not always as good as it looks, or sometimes it can, like you said, benefit those other teams. Let's go back out to the phone lines, because we posed the question in the last hour. What is your approval rating of Brian Callahan after 1 year? We're getting tons of participation. So let's go out to Scotty in Tennessee. Scotty, what do you got for approval rating?
I got an L.
Oh, there we go.
He is the head man. His coaching staff, he's supposed to accommodate what he's got to work with. His coaching staff, he failed on. He didn't find a quarterback coordinator to work with Will Levis. He's trying to ride on his own seat pants, and you can't do that. You've got to go out there and find people to build what he's got. That's what they handed him. So as me, he gets an L.
You get an L. There it is.
Scotty, fair enough. You at least had backing to what your thought and grade was on him. And I'll say this too, Ramon. He was speaking of the staff, like who you surround yourself with, and that is always difficult in year one as a first-year head coach to put together a staff. And I think for the most part, especially on the defensive side, I do feel like there's some really good veteran coaches there that are really good in terms of their specific positions.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say there was little to no change this offseason with the staff. the big change was clearly special teams coordinator Colt Anderson being fired. But he, other than that, has not made a ton of coaching changes, which I get it too. You want continuity, but you have to be really confident that those positions, those coaches are going to be able to continue development of these players.
No doubt about it. And as a college, I said here a second ago, there is, I guess, the responsibility of the head coach to know what is going to work. Like I said, he admitted in hindsight on his sit down with Easton Freeze that like he shouldn't put Traylon over NWI. You know what I'm saying? So it sucks to learn on the job, especially when you got fans' hearts and emotions into what the performance of their favorite team is all about. Hopefully you see that change, though. So hopefully for a guy on that last call, that F turns into a B. Scotty, hopefully that F turns into a B, because one thing he has done is owned up to it.
Sure.
I know
he knows what he needs to do.
Don't mean much right now.
But first admitting it that's the first part of problem, or finishing a problem, or whatever I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Admitting it is the first step.
The first step.
Mo in Nashville is on the lines. I know you have a T. Higgins comment, but do you have an approval rating too?
My approval rating for Brian Callahan will probably be a C-. Obviously, 3 or 14 is not ideal, but given the circumstances with Will Levis, and I don't think Will Levis is a bad quarterback. I just think like the ball didn't bounce the right way. I know that's kind of like what Rand Carthon said. But I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think Brian Callahan did a good job from at least my point of view, and the ball just didn't bounce our way. I do have a question for Ramon. So I know in the past few drafts, the Texans took C.J. Stroud, but they also took Will Anderson like back-to-back. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to see if there's a way the Titans would be able to get Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and be able to bring in a big-time wide receiver like T. Higgins. It's just something I was thinking about last night, and I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. Thank you.
No doubt.
Thanks, Mo. Appreciate it.
They got number one. That means you got to have capital or either give up players to get another early first-round draft pick, though. So let's just say the Titans go from 1 to 3. 1, you ain't got to give up nothing for. But for that 3rd overall pick, I mean, golly. We're talking about the Titans coming from the 2nd round to the 1st round, basically. Right. Like, that's damn near impossible. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't see that. You got to think. The Houston Texans mortgaged their Deshaun Watson picks to get those earlier draft picks and stuff like that. And I think they relinquished their 1st-round picks the years after that, too, to move up in that sort. They had capital. I think they had 2 first-round picks at that point in their career, so they moved up and just moved some stuff around. To be honest with you, I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
they don't have enough.
A long shot.
They don't have the players to trade, and they don't have the draft capital to give away either. That's a pipe dream right there. I don't even know if you can force that on Madden or on the PFF mock draft.
The non-realistic.
Only thing they could do is move back from 1, pick at 3, and then try to trade back again. It's the only thing that you can do. And then we're talking about a bunch of hypotheticals at that point.
And if I remember correctly, the reason it was easier for the Texans to do that is they had 2 1s from the Deshaun Watson trade.
Yeah,
so they already had the extra 1 to move up and dispose of assets. The Titans would have to acquire an extra 1 or give up another one. You know what I mean?
Are you not listening to me?
I was listening, but I was reading something else over here. Anyway, coming up.
I'm glad. But yeah, we're talking about the 26th and then the 27th first rounder at that point.
Yeah.
So we're moving up to get 1 and 3 this year, or 1 and 2.
That seems complicated to me.
Wait, that's way too much.
Exactly. Keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
All right, coming up here in the next segment, we're going to go back to we were going to go in a different direction. We were going to go to college football, but we call the shots in the moment, all right?
Yeah.
We call the shots in the moment, and we want to talk more about the quarterbacks. That's right. We want to talk about Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, but there is one ESPN analyst who I, quite frankly, respect the heck out of, who feels like he can convince you that Cam Ward's the dude that you take if you're going to take a quarterback in this draft. We'll get to that audio and much more coming up next on RKW 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Man, some of y'all might have to reach out to my people today, depending upon your pipes and stuff like that around your house, your AC unit not working the way you need it to, or your heat not working the way you need it to today, man. But here's the cool thing about them, man. They've been around since 1990 and are family owned and operated, man. Jimmy Hiller was recently named amongst one of the most admired CEOs around. That's because how he truly cares for his team and his clients. Hiller takes care of the customer on every single job, man, and they stand behind their work, too. The motto is this: happy you'll be, the service is free. All right, if a customer isn't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right. You can learn more about what they do and the professional and experienced, trustworthy technicians by simply going to happyhiller.com.
Welcome back into RKW here on this Friday Junior is what we like to call it on the show. We were going to go with some SEC college football talk, but you know what? We're derailing all that because we're just going to do what we want.
Yeah, we can.
And two quarterbacks that kind of say what they want. They're having fun with it, and I'm enjoying every minute of it, is the two best quarterbacks in this year's draft process, and that is Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. And we've discussed a little bit about them today on the show. Emory Hunt of CBS Sports brought up that he felt if you drafted one of these quarterbacks that the Titans could go from being one of the worst teams to a playoff team. So he made that statement earlier today on the show. We shared that. And now we've got one of the more respective analysts. He has, I think could be a general manager again in the league and be somebody who would probably do a really good job at it. Louis Riddick of ESPN was on First Take this week and put out there, if, you haven't been convinced already that Cam Ward is the guy. And I'm not saying necessarily for here. I'm just saying the first overall pick, the first quarterback picked, where he goes, he'll be successful kind of thing. Louis Riddick pretty much can convince you maybe if you aren't already convinced. Here's him on First Take.
But I will say this about Cam Ward, and I have no issue about what he did in the bowl game.
Really?
I don't care about that. I don't, because you know what? Look, this guy, think about Cam Ward's story from his start at Incarnate Ward as a 0-star recruit. 0 stars. 0. Goes to Washington State, rips it up at Washington State, and decides to transfer to Miami because he knew he needed to up his resume in terms of winning, in terms of being able to win it at the highest level, because that's what we always judge quarterbacks by. I got to talk to this guy now 3 different times. Got to talk to him at Washington State up there in Pullman. Got to talk to him down in Tampa when they played South Florida this year. We did that game, and got to talk to him again before they played Georgia Tech. Ask Mario Cristobal about the kind of leader that this guy is and what he did to Miami football in the offseason from the time he decided to transfer from Washington State to the time they stepped on the football field. He took over this program, they said, like no one he has ever seen it. And Mario has played with some great players, some of the greatest of all time at the U. This guy is the ultimate consummate leader. He plays with a gigantic-sized boulder on his shoulder. It's not a chip. It's a boulder. He is very confident in the work that he has put in, and he should be because he's supremely smart. He is supremely talented, and he's deadly serious about the game. And he feels as though, even at this point in time, people still don't really believe that he's as good as he is. And he can play. He directed that passing attack down there at Miami this year with the kind of precision and kind of maturity that is worthy of being considered a number 1 overall pick. It just is. And when he gets to the NFL level, he will be the guy who, what is the first thing that people said about Jaden Daniels when he went to Washington? They were surprised not surprised, that everyone was impressed about the fact that he was there at 5 a.m. every day and he's the last guy to leave. And that's not just for show, it's because that's part of his process. It's the same thing with Cam Ward. And he will have that same kind of effect. He may not be warm and fuzzy to everybody because this dude is assassin serious about his craft. And I believe him when he says he's going to try and make everybody pay. And I don't think that's just hyperbole.
Okay, so real quick, Kent in the F&M Bank chat says, just got a massive check from Cam Ward's agent on this segment. For that segment, excuse me. I disagree with you because I also reached out personally to a coach in his career that was very closely connected with him along the college rank. And I just listened to that for the first time, and every single thing that Riddick said is exactly what I got when I had the response back, which included, diligent in his preparation, film study, practice habits, exudes confidence, fiercely competitive, said he think he will thrive in the NFL. He's had 4 different play callers in his college career and gotten better with all 4 of them. So, no, I don't think it's a plug from his agent. I think Louis Riddick knows ball, and I think he's done his due diligence. Now, whether that's going to work here is another question. But I think the main question is, will Cam Ward have success? And I think rolling the dice on him, I probably would.
I know. Bert brought up Washington's free agency that they had, also bringing in key leaders and players that can make plays for them and stuff like that. Dante Fowler, Bobby Wagner, the list goes on. And players, and they also had a group of guys already there. Scary Terry. I mean, Brian Robinson Jr., they got players, right, as it pertains to what they have. How was the line,
too?
It was serviceable. It was good enough. But here's also the other part of it, too. Jaden and his legs cover a lot. Jaden Daniels, Washington Commanders quarterback, and his leg covers up a lot as it pertains to bad offensive line. So that's what worries me about either one of these two guys coming here is, will they be elusive enough to get outside of the pocket? I think what we're doing right now is thinking you can chase what Jaden Daniels did.
Right.
And that right there probably ain't realistic because these guys aren't the athlete that Jaden Daniels is either. And I think a lot of folks was trying to figure out if Caleb Williams was going to be what C.J. Stroud was. And C.J. Stroud turned out to be more of a pocket passer that was able to use his legs. And I actually thought going into this past year, that we'd see more mobility out of Caleb Williams in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And we didn't. So when you get these guys, it's a matter of formulating a plan, a game plan, a system for them that's going to allow them to be good. Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels is a match made in paradise, period. Ain't no other way around it. And they got a veteran head coach also that was able to uplift that team and create a standard of being a team, too. That's something that Coach Brian Callahan has to grow in. But if we're speaking about Cam Ward, it's a fascinating, like Cam Ward to me is as polarizing, if not more, than Shedeur is. I feel like with Shedeur, you know what you're going to get. You're going to have protection around him. Yeah. Because I don't want to call him a limited athlete, but like he's not Jaden Daniels.
Sure, I understand what you're saying.
I don't even think he's C.J. Stroud fast, okay? He's not in that conversation. Damn sure ain't Kyler Murray, okay? He's a pocket quarterback to me that I feel like is going to get the ball out of his hand. It's going to be on time more times than not, and it's going to be safe.
Right.
It's going to be, hey, I was sending clips to you guys. This Cam Ward and Shedeur beef battle, banter that they got going on is rich. If y'all hadn't seen that on social media. It's like every day
now.
Every day is something. Cam Ward told Shedeur, all you do is throw check downs and short routes. He's like, of course my completion percentage would be that high. And Cam told him, like, I drive the ball down the field. And they went back and forth like, it got spicy. Honestly, when I saw Shedeur walk up on Cam, I was just like, you need to have your fist balled if you're doing this type of stuff, okay? Unless that's their relationship.
I think it is, because they're both really, really competitive.
And they take good shots at one another.
Yeah.
So for me, like I said, I think Cam is more polarizing because Cam does have the bigger arm. Mm-hmm. Cam's a taller athlete, if I'm not mistaken to him. Cam has shown that he's a little bit more mobile than what Shedeur likes to be.
Sure.
And that's where, if he comes to a place like Tennessee for me, and Louis Riddick brings that up, if he comes to Tennessee, how much will he have to, or you want him to use his legs too? Because here's the thing about it. This franchise has had numerous mobile quarterbacks. We'll just go with one of the last ones. Well, Levis was mobile. Tannehill was mobile. Vince Young was Mariota was mobile. Vince Young and also Steve McNair. All mobile quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you can't get used to it or know how to protect them. It does results to, if you don't go get a stud right side of the offensive line.
Yep.
How can you trust Cam to operate in the backfield? Like, the arm talent is there.
Very true.
The processing from what everybody has said around him that has been coached by him is there too. Can you facilitate him being successful here? That's the biggest thing that I ask for, and that's going to be a question for both of those young quarterbacks, since it's so much unknowns about it.
No, you're right, and I'll be fair. I give you what I've found out with him in terms of Cam Ward on the good side, but I'll also read something to you that I reached out to somebody who covered him a lot in terms of, TV and radio last year, and he mentioned, Cam reminds me of a less talented Caleb Williams. Great arm, really mobile, but has to work on timing. Some guys in college can buy time. It works. Mm-hmm. They are just that much better in the world of the NFL in terms of, in the NFL, that big fish in a small pond mentality can get you in trouble.
It does. It can, because there's risks to be made in those situations right there. But here's what we know about Cam. He is very boisterous about his ability to play, and that's an awesome thing. And this team needs a guy like that can spark you. I think if you mix if you mix Vince Young's athleticism with Cam Ward's drive, you got the ultimate quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. right? But it's a matter of...
That's a good way of putting it.
No, seriously.
That's a great way, because we all know Vince Young did not spend much time in the film room.
No, he did not. But Cam is a guy that is a student of the game and stuff like that, and he does seem to be one of those guys like, watch me prove you wrong. My point on saying it earlier this week on his comments of, well, you'll regret it, you're supposed to say that. Every player feels that. Heck, I felt it for every time I played in the opposing team or a player that was drafted ahead of me and I saw him being bad. Like, I'm spiteful like that when it comes to sports.
Oh, yeah.
And it seems like Cam is too. But my point was I would have waited till the draft to say those types of things. So I probably wouldn't have said it so early publicly. It was stated in our YouTube chat too. It does seem now to be selected number 1 overall is huge. It does seem like both of these young men, though, are like very much so pick me to be number 1 instead of, hey, I'm going to help your franchise. That's been the conversation on social media between the two. Well, you're going 6. Well, I'm going 1. Oh, hey, I'll be the first quarterback. And it's fun banter going on right now. I just know a lot of eyes are going to be on them, on their success, because it is so loud right now. But I'll be honest with you, I like it. And truth be told, the Titans could use one of these types of guys. You said earlier, Kayla, you don't like the safe pick. The safe pick to me would be Abdul Carter.
Right.
I do think so, although he has his questions too about his durability and everything else that goes into it. It's just that this team needs a spark more than just the coach got to get everything right, because I'm a firm believer bad players get good coaches fired too. I'm a firm believer that sometimes on the player side, you have to outwork coaching. A coach can set you up on a dummy mission from time to time. How good can you be? And that's where, to me, if you're asking me what I like about these guys, I do like the fact that I've seen them be successful. I question, though, how much can you surround them to be even better? Mm-hmm. That's where we are with these two guys right now as it pertains to the Titans sticking and picking at number 1 or moving back no further than 3 and still being able to get the quarterback that you want.
Who's the best team then in terms of teams, quarterback-needy teams in this year's draft that would give them the best opportunity to win right away?
Cleveland, Vegas.
Okay. And that's either quarterback goes there.
Cleveland's got the defense, a good bit of the defense, and they got weapons offensively.
Yeah.
Raiders got money to spend, and they're going to be over the top if they get Shador. I'm selling out for them. They haven't had their quarterback in a while, along with a new head coach that's willing and ready. They got Chip Kelly. So you know a quarterback
as an offensive coordinator, yeah.
If he can continue what he did at Ohio State.
Well, and Pete Carroll is an offensive guy, too. So
those two franchises I see are ready made for them.
Yeah.
But there's a huge need for the Tennessee Titans, in my opinion, to find that spark. Like you said, you got to sell tickets. We had our guy earlier in the chat was like, man, I want to be able to go to football games. This fan base wants to be able to talk trash. You can't. Everybody's taking you to the dumpster right now.
So if you were to say, hey, we need just like 2 pieces to at least make Cam or Shador, you feel a little bit better about them coming here. What are maybe the 2 pieces you would add here? And they could be the same for Shador and Cam, or they could be different.
It'll have to be the same for both of them. You need a wide receiver. Have to.
Okay.
You have to have a wide receiver. Another one, a playmaker. I'm not sure if you're going to take a chance on an aging Stephon Diggs, or you're going to go and get somebody in the second round.
I don't think they're going in that direction, Mom.
See what I'm saying?
From what we've heard, right?
You got to go in the draft, but it also means you're super young again, too. As far as the free agent wide receivers, T. Higgins not going to be available to you. So you can just throw that one out, too. And everybody else is role playing. Most teams have the number 1 wide receiver. So it's, again, build through the draft. If they have to stick at 1, I see them going quarterback if they choose to, and then a wide receiver. Or you also say to yourself, too, why would you not pour into the defense? That's the other issue to me. If you want to be competitive this year, and you also have to fulfill the duties of your coordinators, at least Denard Wilson, why would you not go get him a high draft pick also? Because if you expect me to be able to stop the run and keep us in football games, if the defensive side of the ball for the Titans is the best, then you got to have some bodies, man. You have to.
So we're having a discussion right here. If you want to join in, 615-737-1045. Going back to the quarterback talk, would you take Cam Ward or Shador Sanders currently with what the Titans are dealing with. Specifically, Moan just mentioned it, maybe the lack of talent around the quarterback to help them out. Because here's the other thing. When you drafted Joe Burrow, when Brian Callahan was in Cincinnati and they were rebuilding, they drafted Joe Burrow. They also got Jamar Chase. And so you kind of get a 2-for-1 deal where I think that's harder to see happen this year for the Titans. Maybe you get a wide receiver in the second round where you're thinking, okay, that could be a good duo to start, at least giving Cam Ward to Shedeur Sanders something. Mm-hmm. But you also in free agency then have to go out and address at least one of the positions on the right side.
You do.
You have to.
And they'll have to. But again, all that's got to come together. What I see right now from PFF is the Las Vegas Raiders have a all green offensive line as far as their grades they administered to them. Only one that has a little bit of yellow.
Yeah, explain that real quick.
Green is
those who might not
good.
know.
Like those guys, those are passing grades right there for their offensive line. Jackson Powers Johnson, who's the rookie stud that I liked out of Oregon, last year was a 63.9. He's yellowish green. So he's above the line the way you look at him. And then the other side, too, if you're asking me where these two young quarterbacks can go and be successful right now, like I say, Shedeur can go to the Vegas because they have a line. They have a running back. It's easy to find these days. Jacoby Myers is there, too. And then you also say to yourself,
that's right. I forgot.
Who has a better playmaker than Brock Bowers?
They have a rookie that should have been, if Jaden Daniels didn't have the year he did, it would have been by far the rookie of the year.
So if either one of these
that's a good point, Mom.
If either one of these quarterbacks do get drafted, Shedeur or Cam, I'm tempering my expectation in year one in a major way. Probably about the same as what Caleb Williams had this past year. With a lot of losing still, but I see it going like his because of just where the team is at this point. And I think Chicago had a better outfit than the Titans do. They just had bad coaching and leadership.
And here's the other thing on that. If you're kind of talking me into another team picking one of these quarterbacks when you just put that right. And that's the thing. It can still be good, especially if you are maybe the Las Vegas Raiders and you really need to move up to get your quarterback because, like Moan said, you have some of the weapons there. You feel like you've got the coaching and the offensive coordinator in place. Now, if you are convinced by one of these quarterbacks after speaking with them at the Combine even and seeing them at Pro Day, maybe you think, okay, we really need to go up and get our quarterback. That's where you get the trade partner that could really benefit you. If you trade back, you get the bag for that pick.
If Vegas goes from 6 to 1, did we go through that the other day? 6 to 1.
We did. I don't know points-wise what it is, but I know we did discuss it.
That is the most ideal situation because if they go from 6 to 1, from my understanding from the folks I've talked to, Senior Bowl, the Giants like Shedeur. Shedeur likes the Giants too. So if you can get Vegas to get frisky and the Titans move back to 6, I mean, I feel more confident about the direction of this team if that does happen.
So you're saying maybe Vegas would be the best bet?
Yes.
Get what I did
there? Yes, they would be, though.
That's interesting.
They would. That might be your best trade partner. Them with the Jets. I go Vegas first, though, because Chip Kelly and what Shedeur would do or Cam.
It's a great point, Mo. Yep. Really, really interesting little discussion there. If you want to join in, you got one more chance to do it here. We're going to wrap up the show. Take your phone call, 615-737-1045, The Zone. If you guys could only hear what we laugh about during the break. Welcome back in to Ramon, Kayla, and Will. As we wrap up this Thursday show, my goodness, we are just like more hours closer to Friday. I'm excited, guys. How about you guys?
We are. Bert, that got everybody excited now, man.
What is going on out there?
You got to tune into the daggum
F&M Bake Chat.
There you go. Kayla knew where I was going. I can't give all my secrets away. You only get to hear the great screams of Bert in the Zone TV.
That is right. Because that's the thing. You can listen to us, and we appreciate every single listener. You can also do double duty, though. Listen and watch on the F&M Bank Chat, and we're streaming live always on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and what else did I miss? Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, you could pull like what most Titans fans did, where you listen to Mike Keith call a game, but you watch the game on the TV. So you could listen to the radio stream and then watch us on Zone TV.
Exactly. Whatever you want, though. If you watch us, though, please be kind.
Nah. Let them have it.
You can say what you want. We'll just come right back at you. Nothing wrong with that.
From time to time.
Been a fun show, though, today. Appreciate Coach Dave McGinnis, Coach Mack coming on today as you guys prepare for the NFL Combine next week. And so you're going up there on Monday night?
Monday evening, yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so coverage from Tuesday to Thursday from Titans Radio and, of course, Ramon Foster, part of this show. What is your maybe one thing you're looking forward to? Because you did it last year, and I know you've been up there before, but what's like the one thing you want to maybe get accomplished this time up in Indianapolis?
Make it to one of those front office suites. And
really?
I hadn't stayed and sat and watched the workouts and nothing like that. But I be super shy sometimes from time to time with like my ability to have access. Like I don't take advantage of it all the time.
I get what you're saying by that. Like you're not just going to walk in and say, "Hey, I'm Ramon Foster, let me in."
Yeah, no, exactly. So I've been in a position to where I've been, hey, come up to the suite when I'm at the Senior Bowl and I don't go up. Or hey, you should come over to the suites, and I haven't done those things. So because of my affiliation now with what I do with the NFL too, like going around and being able to have some access, I'm going to see how far I can go with that this year. So whether I be in the Steelers front office or their suite or wherever on my free time away from the job and from Titans Radio if we have nothing else going on, just to see how those inner workings work a little bit, man. I've heard business deals go down in that suite level at Lucas Oil Field, and I'm interested to see what it actually looked like. Not that I can say anything about it.
Right. I was going to say, I mean, you may be able to give us nugget off there.
But nothing too crazy. And then, too, hear the rumblings around the quarterbacks. Like, what is everybody saying about that?
I'm interested in that for sure.
And who stands out? I think that's going to be one of the biggest tells, I think, this upcoming week, because the main conversation has been it's a deep draft. It's just not blue chip deep.
Right. So the NFL Combine, just in terms of the schedule, of course the internet's down. Lovely. For you guys, in terms of what you do for Titans radio coverage, though, you guys are like talking with Mike Borgonzi.
Yeah.
You're talking with Brian Callahan. What's maybe the one question now that we're into this draft process that you're going to pose to one of these guys, whether it's Borgonzi or Callahan?
What am I going to propose to one of those guys would be to Borgonzi, probably more than anything. Do you stay or do you trade back?
What do you think he's going to say to that?
He won't give me an answer, but I think off top, it'll probably be like, how popular are you guys here right now? Him, Chad, and Coach Brian Callahan. Have you had conversations just to see what he'll say? It's like, yeah, we've been engaged. Like, he won't give us a real answer from time to time, I don't think. But have you been engaged with other teams that are interested in the number one overall pick? I think that is a fair place to start at for the most part. And not just that, too. Plans for free agency. What is the most important position that you can go after in free agency that makes sense to you, too?
Right.
And we'll see if he says we'll take care of the offensive line or
because he's been very, very solid on his message and we've got to bolster the lines, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yes.
that's been the one thing that I remember sticks out, whether it's his interview with us on the show when he got hired or his introductory press conference. It was like, we have to beef up. We have to be better on both lines. And guess what? It makes sense because it's exactly what Coach Mack told us today in his time spent with us. Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl for one reason. They dominated in the trenches.
Yep, they did. Yep, they did. So that's something that Coach Brian Callahan has said also. He wants a big team too. So we'll see. I got some optimism about what could happen, but again, it's still exciting. Got the number 1 overall pick.
Exactly. And we're going to keep talking about it here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We've got one more day to do it before the weekend. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, calling in, listening today. But before we part ways with y'all, we've got that word of advice.
You better
Ramon
believe
Foster.
it. Good people, you got to remember at all times, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot, Bert.
Yeah, Bert.